Chapter 376. Did you see that? I heard that this guy is a trash who just entered the sect. He's really a disgrace to us Zhongtian disciples. He's only at the foundation establishment stage at 19 years old. Even Hotian disciples aren't as bad as him. I heard that he begged senior brother Luo Fai Long and senior brother Ji Wen Kai to protect him. Unfortunately, they didn't care. What a joke. This is the first Zhongtian disciple who didn't succeed in choosing a faction. Muyu had just walked over when a few people's words entered his ears. They didn't even try to hide their words. They were deliberately saying it for Muyu to hear. Muyu frowned. Begging? Wasn't this news a little too crooked? It even became a story of begging and begging. Even though Muyu had a good temper, he was still angered by these words. What do they mean by begging? They wanted him, an out-of-body stage cultivator, to beg two nascent soul stage rookies? He shook his head. He was too lazy to lower himself to the same level as these people. Their gossip didn't hurt him at all. He would endure it for now. If there was a chance in the future, he would deal with them all. But there were always some people who didn't know the difference between life and death. You're the Zhongtian disciple who was called trash? A fat young man blocked in front of Muyu. Muyu raised his head. This guy was a head taller than Muyu, and his body was very sturdy. Just his body alone was twice as wide as Muyu's. To be able to grow so tall and fat. Muyu had always felt that it was a miracle, because in his impression, fat people were all short. What's the matter? Muyu asked in a lukewarm voice. It's not a big deal. Today is the day to collect the spirit stones and array foundations. Since you're already trash, why don't you give them to me, and I'll take care of them for you. This tall and fat guy was called Zhu Kaijun. He was one of the most famous Zhongtian disciples. He was one of Luo Feilong's most capable followers, a loyal lackey. Muyu had already been in the array faction for a few days. Just now, he had indeed received 100 spirit stones, 5 Hotian array foundations, and 2 Zhongtian array foundations from a Zhongtian array master. Base formations could be divided into innate base formations, central base formations, and acquired base formations according to the degree of abundance of spiritual qi. Generally speaking, the most common array bases were spirit stones. The slightly more precious ones were the demon spirits produced after the death of demonic beasts. Demon spirits, similar to rank 3 demonic beasts, were the most common ones in the Hotian array base. Rank 4 and rank 5 demonic beasts were the Zhongtian array base. When Muyu was in the Mayan mountain range, Elder Sun had once used a purple gold spirit stone to set up a spirit gathering array for Muyu. The purple gold spirit stone was a high-grade material among the innate array foundations. The blood jade ink crystal that Deadwood Daddy had left for Muyu was a rare Xiantian array base. The spirit chi contained within it had reached an astonishing level. The blood jade ink crystal had already been well protected by Muyu to prevent any accidents from happening. When Deadwood Daddy had first dispersed his cultivation, he had already given everything to Muyu, including many precious array bases. However, he hadn't paid much attention to arrays in the past, so these array bases had been left unused for a long time. Now it was time to unseal them. As for the array bases and spirit stones that the array faction had given to Muyu, they weren't even worth his attention. The array bases that he had casually taken out were all high-grade goods. They weren't as shabby as the ones he had received. If it was any other time, he wouldn't have a problem giving these things to anyone. However, this guy had come to cause trouble with a robber's face. This was something that Muyu didn't want to tolerate. Why do you want to rob other people's things? Muyu revealed an innocent and confused face. Zhu Kaijun froze for a moment, then burst out laughing. Obviously, this was the first time someone had asked him such an idiotic question. He arrogantly said, "Do robbers need a reason? People who rob are either ugly in their hearts and want to reap without sowing, or they are simple-minded and self-righteous, or they don't have a good upbringing. Which one are you?" Muyu asked leisurely. "I am." Zhu Kaijun was ridiculed by Muyu's brainless mockery. He couldn't wrap his head around it and even stop to think about why he wanted to rob. He really didn't know how someone with such low IQ could become a Zhongtian disciple. Arrays were so profound. When did becoming an array master not look at IQ? When Zhu Kai-jun came to his senses and realized that Mu Yu was cursing him in a roundabout way, he immediately shouted angrily, "I am your mother!" Without any explanation, Zhu Kai-jun raised his fan-sized palm and slapped towards Mu Yu. He was a first heavenly layer nascent soul stage cultivator. In his anger, he didn't show any mercy at all. The air resounded with a sharp explosion. In the eyes of outsiders, Mu Yu was just a foundation establishment stage rookie. They feared that Zhu Caijuan's palm could turn Mu Yu into meat paste. Zhu Kai-jun, don't kill him. You have to take responsibility. How can this trash withstand your palm? Be gentler. Many people hurriedly reminded Zhu Kai-jun. Although this brainless guy was stupid like a pig, he still had cultivation. If he killed Mu Yu, then the crime of killing a fellow disciple would be confirmed. No matter how much the Array faction declined, it was still strictly forbidden to kill fellow disciples. Zhu Kai-jun was reminded by others, so the strength of his palm was reduced by 70 to 80%. However, in his opinion, even if his palm was not strong, it was still not something a foundation establishment stage rookie could withstand. At the very least, it would break his bones and make him lie in bed for 10 days to half a year. If he knew Mu Yu's true cultivation, even if he had 100 guts, he would not dare to be so arrogant. Mu Yu seemed to be panic-stricken as he raised his hands. In a flash, he suddenly grabbed Zhu Caijuan's hand. Zhu Kai-jun was shocked to find that his hand could no longer move down. How could this be? He was a nascent soul stage cultivator. Zhu Kai-jun looked at Mu Yu. A pure black light flashed in Mu Yu's right eye. It reflected in Zhu Caijuan's eyes, making his heart almost stop for half a beat. Then, he felt a terrifying spiritual power coming from his hand. This spiritual power instantly wandered through his body. His mind went blank, and his vision turned black. Boom! Zhu Caijuan's small mountain-like body suddenly fell down. He hit the ground and caused a tremor, making everyone's jaws drop. But Mu Yu flew out in a panic and also fell to the ground. He looked at Zhu Kai-jun in horror, completely looking like a victim. What's going on? The 2 or 3 people next to him were stunned. How could the nascent soul stage Zhu Kai-jun be the first to fall down compared to the foundation establishment stage trash? Mu Yu climbed up and asked in a panic, "Does he have high blood pressure or high blood fat?" I saw that he was afraid to kill me, so he suddenly stopped. It seems like he didn't have time to breathe. The others had already run over and carefully checked Zhu Caijuan's situation. They found that Zhu Caijuan's spiritual power was indeed not flowing smoothly. It was very similar to what Mu Yu said about not having time to breathe. They were a little relieved. They thought that Mu Yu was a guy who hid his strength. It turned out that Zhu Kai-jun was careless and caused trouble for himself. You don't rob me." Mu Yu saw that everyone was looking at him. He quickly retreated a few steps and then turned around to escape. He was afraid that someone would rob him again. "Not bad, Mu Yu. It turns out that you have a talent for acting." Xiao Shuai laughed until his stomach hurt. "That's right. I'm going to win the Best Actor award." Mu Yu saw that no one was chasing after him, and then he couldn't help but laugh. "What is the Best Actor award?" Xiao Shuai asked puzzledly. "I don't know. When I was in the village head grandpa would invite people to act in a play to celebrate the harvest every year. There were always a few people who acted particularly well. The village head said that the person who acted the best would get the glory of the Best Actor award." Mu Yu smiled. He also didn't know much about this matter. He leisurely turned into a mountain path and flew towards another valley. To be honest, the Array faction was really a vast sect. Think about it. Most of the Array formations in their mountain gates came from the hands of the Array faction's Xiantian Array masters. If they angered the Array faction, the Array masters of the Array faction might tell the key points of breaking the Array formation to a sect's archenemy. Of course, the Array faction would not do something that would harm the interests of others. They set up formations for others and received payment from others. If they turned around and revealed the flaws in the formations, then wouldn't they be smashing their own reputation? Who would dare to ask them to set up formations in the future? Therefore, every disciple would remember this when they enter the sect. This was the bottom line that all Array masters had to abide by. Mu Yu crossed over a mountain. Looking at the map, he saw a valley called the Advancement Hall. This valley was only accessible to Zhongtian disciples. At this moment, there were many Zhongtian disciples entering the Advancement Hall. The Advancement Hall was a test for advancement. If Zhongtian disciples wanted to become Xiantian disciples, they had to complete the test here. Why were there so many Zhongtian disciples entering the Advancement Hall? Mu Yu also wanted to find out, so he headed down the valley. Chapter 377. It was currently afternoon, the free time for all the Zhongtian disciples. Mu Yu had just entered the Advancement Hall when he saw a tremendous change in the valley. It was as if he had arrived in a vast and boundless starry sky. Whether it was the ground or the sky, it was a spectacular sight. Unlike when he had attempted the third trigram, he did not feel any restrictions here. It was purely an illusion array. At this moment, he was not the only one in the Advancement Hall. There were at least 50 or 60 people gathered here, and it was unknown what they were doing. When Mu Yu entered, no one noticed him. He stood in an inconspicuous corner behind the crowd, listening to the discussions of these Zhongtian disciples. Luo Failong and Ji Wenkai are preparing to try again. A Zhongtian disciple said, "The two of them are the most likely to become Xiantian disciples. In half a year, we will compete with the Symbol Grandmaster. Our array faction cannot lose again, otherwise it will be 10 consecutive years of losing to the array faction. I hope the two of them can successfully become Xiantian disciples. Our array faction has not been able to gather 3 Xiantian disciples for several years now." Many disciples were discussing spiritedly as their eyes were focused on the two figures in the distance. Luo Failong and Ji Wenkai stood there valiantly, looking at each other, neither willing to give in to the other. The two of them were secretly competing, both wanting to be the first to become a Xiantian disciple, but neither of them had succeeded. After about a quarter of an hour, the figure of an old man with fluttering hair appeared in the starry sky. This old man was dressed in a navy blue Taoist robe. On his chest, there were 2 yin-yang fish, one black and one white, chasing after each other. That was the unique mark of a Xiantian array master. What was surprising was that the 2 yin-yang fish on his Taoist robe were actually moving. Clearly, they were formed by a special array. This old man's white beard was meticulously groomed, and his entire person stood there with a breathtaking aura, causing all the disciples to involuntarily feel deep respect for him. All the disciples bowed and said, "Disciple greets Master Lu." Master Lu was an honorific title for a Xiantian array master. Normally, when a Hotian disciple passed the assessment and became a Hotian array master, they would be called Master Lu. But when a Zhongtian disciple became a Zhongtian array master, they would be called Master Lu. There were only 19 people in the array faction who could be called Master. Master Lu was a genuine Xiantian array master. His original name was Lu Dei, and his identity was especially noble in the array faction. Every Xiantian array master of the array faction had a profound understanding of the Tao of array, and their cultivation base was unfathomable. Array Master Lu swept his gaze over all the Zhongtian disciples before his gaze finally landed on Luo Failong and Ji Wenkai, nodding approvingly as he said, "Looks like the two of you have deepened your understanding of the array Tao. Not bad. Not bad." Luo Failong hurriedly said respectfully, "I am indebted to Master Lu's praise. In order to be able to contribute to the sect, this disciple will do his best to improve himself. I absolutely do not dare to slack off." Ji Wenkai also hurriedly said, "Many thanks to Master Lu. After receiving Master Lu's guidance last time, this disciple had a rather deep epiphany. This disciple will definitely defeat the Talisman Grandmaster in this year's Array Talisman competition and win glory for our Array faction." These two young men were usually quite arrogant amongst the Zhongtian disciples, but in front of Master Lu, they were extremely respectful. Their faces had completely changed, filled with a fawning expression, completely different from the way they had spoken to Mu Yu a few days ago, as if they were two humble and courteous young men. In truth, the talent of these two was indeed not bad, and there was a need to cultivate them. Master Lu naturally appreciated these two very much, so he turned a blind eye to their daily affairs. As long as these two could become Xiantian disciples, no matter how they bullied others, it would be a small matter. Since the two of you want to try again, I will summon the array tablets. I hope the two of you will work hard. Master Lu waved his hand, and 3 simple array tablets flew out from his sleeves, quickly growing in size before landing firmly in the starry sky. What the test of the array tablets was, Muyu did not know, but he knew that if someone passed the test, the array tablets would shatter. Once all 3 array tablets shattered, it meant that a Zhongtian disciple had successfully passed the advancement test and become a Xiantian disciple. These 3 array tablets were each as big as a door, and the tablets seemed to be broken, their edges extremely irregular, looking very strange. Mysterious array patterns were engraved on the tablets, and from time to time, a white light would flow along the array patterns. The 3 array tablets landed in the starry sky, like 3 mountains pressing down on everyone's hearts, heavy and solid. If one's mind was not stable, staring at these 3 array tablets for too long, they would feel a suffocating feeling in their chest, and even lose consciousness for several days and nights. You know the rules. As long as you can pass the test of these 3 array tablets, you can become a Xiantian disciple. The two of you can start now. Master Lu said and stepped aside, looking at Luo Feilong and Ji Wenkai. Does senior brother Luo want to try first? Ji Wenkai cupped his hands towards Luo Feilong, saying politely. Luo Feilong snorted. How could he not know that Ji Wenkai was provoking him? But how could the competitive Luo Feilong show weakness at this time? So he put on a fake smile and said, then it would be impolite for me to refuse. Luo Feilong stood in front of one of the array tablets, closed his eyes, and adjusted his breathing. All the Zhongtian disciples stared at him. All of them had high hopes for Luo Feilong, hoping that he could pass the array tablets test and gain some experience from him. In fact, this was not the first time Luo Feilong had come to challenge the array tablets. So far, he had challenged 23 times, and all of them ended in failure. After failing so many times, he made a detailed summary of the array tablets test and had already grasped the key points of passing the array tablets test. He believed that as long as he tried a few more times, he would definitely be able to break the array tablet. After a long time, Luo Feilong opened his eyes. He was in a very good state and stretched out his right hand, pressing it against the array tablet. The array tablet emitted a dazzling white light, and as the white light gradually surged, the inscriptions on the array tablet also began to move. Many mysterious inscriptions were faintly discernible, wrapping around Luo Feilong. Luo Feilong's forehead was covered in sweat, and his whole body was trembling slightly. He gritted his teeth and continued to persevere. No one knew what the array tablets test was, and no one could see what Luo Feilong was encountering at this moment, but everyone was more nervous than him. After all, if one could break 3 array tablets, they would be able to become a 1 in a million Xiantian disciple. That was a supreme glory. Ji Wenkai watched from the side, and although he had a smile on his face, he was also very anxious. He did not want Luo Feilong to succeed in breaking the first array tablet. If Luo Feilong broke one of the array tablets, then the pressure on him would be great. If he wanted to be on the same level as Luo Feilong, then he would have to break one of the array tablets. After about 2 hours, the light from inscriptions grew stronger and stronger, and the aura from the array tablets grew more and more terrifying. Many people took a step back at the same time and looked at Luo Feilong in bewilderment. Luo Feilong's face turned very pale. These inscriptions seemed to be exerting a great pressure on him. Then he felt a lump in his throat and spat out a mouthful of blood. His aura quickly withered. His hand had already left the array tablet, and he bent over, gasping for breath. A look of disappointment flashed across Master Lu's face. Although Luo Feilong's failure was within his expectations, he still hoped that a miracle would happen. After all, for so many years, the Array sect did not have a second Xiantian disciple besides Mu Chenghong. If this continued, the Array sect would inevitably have a shortage of talents. Now, there was only one Xiantian disciple and 19 Xiantian Array masters. The Array sect had been suppressed by the Talisman sect, and if there were no more Xiantian disciples, the Array sect's future would be bleak. The only Xiantian disciple was Mu Chenghong, and he was a genius who had passed 7 trigrams. Other than him, the only other Xiantian disciple could only be a Zhongtian disciple. But because of the difference in talent, it was simply too difficult for a Zhongtian disciple to successfully pass the test of the Array tablet and become a Xiantian disciple. The other Zhongtian disciples also let out a few disappointed sighs, feeling sorry for Luo Feilong. Luo Feilong's followers had already run over to greet him. Ji Wenkai's face relaxed a little, but at the same time, he snorted lightly. Luo Feilong's failure was the best thing for him. Ji Wenkai, do you want to try? Master Lu asked. He hoped that whether it was Luo Feilong or Ji Wenkai, as long as one of them could miraculously become a Xiantian disciple, then the Array sect would celebrate. Ji Wenkai respectfully said, "Disciples' understanding of Array formations has deepened recently. I am willing to try." His gaze swept past Luo Feilong, revealing a provocative look. Luo Feilong was anxious in his heart. He also did not want to see Ji Wenkai successfully shatter an Array tablet. If that happened, his position in the eyes of the Zhongtian disciples would be lower than Ji Wenkai's. Ji Wenkai also stood in front of an Array tablet, adjusting his state of mind, and then began to accept the test of the Array tablet. The Array tablet once again emitted a white light, enveloping Ji Wenkai's entire body. Ji Wenkai's face also instantly turned pale. He struggled to hold on, and under the surprised gazes of the crowd, his face began to redden, and the paleness also dissipated. Senior Brother Ji seems to have a chance. Senior Brother Ji, you can do it. The Zhongtian disciples who supported Ji Wenkai immediately began to cheer him on, at the same time making provocative gestures towards the Zhongtian disciples who supported Luo Feilong. Luo Feilong supporters were also very angry, shouting, "Don't be too proud. I think Ji Wenkai will also fail." That's right. Even Senior Brother Luo did not succeed. What is Ji Wenkai? The supporters of both sides began to engage in a war of words, and there were even all sorts of unpleasant curses. It was not until Master Lu coughed lightly that everyone quieted down. Nonsense. What are you guys doing? If you disturb Ji Wenkai's state of mind and affect him, see if I don't teach you all a lesson. Master Lu scolded softly. Master Lu looked at Ji Wenkai with hope. Ji Wenkai's performance was clearly much better than Luo Feilong's, and there was even a possibility that he could succeed in breaking the Array tablet. This was a huge improvement, and even Master Lu was looking forward to it. Damn it, you absolutely cannot succeed. Luo Feilong clenched his fists. The white light of the Array tablet grew stronger and stronger, and Ji Wenkai's face began to turn red. However, everyone could feel that the Array tablet was emitting a breathtaking aura. This was something that Luo Feilong had not achieved. Shwa! An intense white light suddenly burst forth, causing everyone to be unable to open their eyes. However, Ji Wenkai's supporters were ecstatic. Did this mean that Ji Wenkai had succeeded? Whether it was Luo Feilong supporters or Ji Wenkai supporters, they were all nervously looking at Ji Wenkai, who was surrounded by the white light. The thoughts of both sides were completely opposite. Even Master Lu's expression changed. He became somewhat excited. As long as Ji Wenkai was able to break one of the formation tablets, it would already be a huge step. This way, when he accepted the test of the next 2 formation tablets, he would be able to grasp the technique. Once he succeeded in the first step, the following steps would not be so strenuous. The white light of the Array tablet slowly dissipated, revealing Ji Wenkai's figure. Chapter 378. The Array tablet was still intact, but Ji Wenkai had already fallen to the ground, his aura weak and listless. Just like Luo Feilong, he had also failed. Failed? How is that possible? Everyone's faces were filled with shock. Just now, the array tablet had clearly shown that it was about to break. But why had it suddenly failed? Luo Feilong's expression was one of relief. As long as Ji Wenkai had failed, then everything was fine. At least he had not surpassed him. Master Lu first walked over to the array tablet and checked its condition. After finding that there were no signs of it collapsing, he walked over to Ji Wenkai's side and placed his hand on Ji Wenkai's back, sending a stream of pure spiritual energy into Ji Wenkai's body. Ji Wenkai slowly woke up and said in fear and trepidation, "This disciple has disappointed Master. Please forgive me." Master Lu said kindly, "You were about to succeed just now. Why did you suddenly fail?" Ji Wenkai sighed. "This disciple was about to pass the test of this array tablet, but I got stuck at the last step. There's no other way." "It's fine. Have you found out where you were stuck?" Master Lu asked. A confident look appeared on Ji Wenkai's face as he said, "I have found out where I am stuck. As long as you give me a few more days, after I recover from my injuries, this disciple will definitely succeed in breaking this array tablet." "Good. You should have such indomitable spirit." Master Lu revealed a gratified smile, saying, "You should first recover from your injuries. If you need anything, just come to me and I will give you a few pointers. If you have any array formation needs, just tell me. As long as you can become a Xiantian disciple, the sect's resources will all be open to you." Ji Wenkai was overjoyed and quickly thanked Master Lu. Master Lu stood up and swept his gaze over the other Zhongtian disciples, saying, "All of you must learn from Ji Wenkai. He was close to success today, and breaking the first array tablet is just around the corner. Everyone must work hard, and in the array formation competition half a year from now, you must properly teach the symbol faction a lesson." "Yes, this disciple will remember." All the Zhongtian disciples bowed respectfully to Master Lu. Master Lu was in charge of teaching the culmination sect's disciples, and although he was usually an easygoing person, he was very strict with his disciples. His only hope was that one of these culmination sect's disciples would be able to bear the heavy responsibility of supporting the array faction in the future. Then who else wants to continue the test of the formation tablet today? Master Lu saw that everyone was in good spirits and nodded slightly before asking. Everyone looked at each other, but no one dared to make a sound. Luo Feilong had failed. Although Ji Wenkai was about to succeed, he had also failed. Since the two most promising Zhongtian disciples had failed, it was even less likely for them to succeed. Master Lu said, "The time for the talisman competition is getting closer and closer. I will put these 3 tablets here. If any of you want to try, go ahead and try. Even if you fail, it doesn't matter. Just be like Ji Wenkai and constantly sum up the experience of failure. One day you will succeed." After saying these words, Master Lu gave Luo Feilong and Ji Wenkai an encouraging look before leaving the advancement hall. After he left, the advancement hall burst into an uproar, discussing how Ji Wenkai had almost succeeded. Ji Wenkai adjusted his body, then stood up and cupped his fists towards Luo Feilong, saying, "Senior brother Luo, today I was just a little bit unlucky, otherwise I would have broken the first tablet. It seems that I will have to go find Master Lu tomorrow to exchange some insights. Senior brother Luo also needs to work hard." Luo Feilong's face was so livid that water could be wrung out of it. Today, Master Lu was obviously more optimistic about Ji Wenkai, which really made him feel angry. He forced out a smile. "Then I must congratulate Junior Brother Ji. But let's not talk about how you haven't broken a single tablet yet. Even if you break the first tablet, there is still a second one, and a third one. I will see how you become a Xiantian disciple." The two's conversation was very tense, and their supporters also began to clamor with each other. It was not until Ji Wenkai and Luo Feilong left that everyone stopped arguing. Ji Wenkai and Luo Feilong left with their respective followers, leaving only Mu Yu in the advancement hall. Formation tablets? Mu Yu rubbed his chin, looking at the 3 ancient formation tablets. He had seen Ji Wenkai and Luo Feilong's performance just now. Ji Wenkai's chances of breaking the tablet were higher, and Luo Filong obviously had not reached Ji Wenkai's level. Muyu, do you want to try? Long Tongue asked. Will there be anything to eat if I break the tablet? Little Shuai said heartlessly. Let me see. Muyu walked in front of the tablet. Just now, Luo Filong and Ji Wenkai had chosen different tablets, so he chose the third tablet that neither of them had touched. What is so difficult about this tablet? It can actually prevent a culmination disciple from becoming a Xiantian disciple. Muyu looked at the inscriptions on the tablet. He was surprised to find that these inscriptions were familiar. Wait, I think I have seen these inscriptions somewhere before. Muyu's eyes lit up. He remembered where he had seen these inscriptions before. When he was in the second layer of heaven, the mountain where the white ape demon king was trapped had these inscriptions on the ground. Little Shuai also remembered. He wagged his tail and said, could it be that these inscriptions have something to do with the white ape demon king? No, it shouldn't be related to the white ape demon king, but the almighty human who set up the array to trap the white ape demon king might be related to the array faction. Muyu also couldn't understand these inscriptions. He stretched out his finger, wanting to touch the inscriptions on the tablet. But just as his finger touched the tablet, it suddenly emitted a white light and sucked him in. Strictly speaking, his whole body was still standing in the same place, but his consciousness was sucked in by the tablet. What is this place? Muyu stood in the middle of a wilderness. Around him were not only short shrubs, but also several towering trees. There were also several terrifying auras hidden in the forest. Roar! A deafening roar suddenly sounded from behind Muyu. Then, he felt as if he had poked the nest of demonic beasts. Countless demonic beasts roared and rushed out, either flying, running, or jumping, surrounding Muyu. These demonic beasts were of different sizes, ranging from rank 1 to rank 5 demonic beasts. However, the only thing in common was that the demonic beasts surrounding Muyu were all white. No matter what the true color of these demonic beasts' fur was in the cultivation world, they were all white here. However, their strength didn't change at all. He saw rank 2 flame horse beast, rank 4 breeze wolf, rank 5 octopus. What? Don't octopuses live in water? Have the times changed? Muyu looked at the octopuses floating in the air, slowly wriggling their tentacles in astonishment. It was really strange. These demonic beasts stared at Muyu covetously, causing Muyu's hair to stand on end. Could it be that this array tablet wanted to test him on how to defeat these demonic beasts? But at this moment, the demonic beasts suddenly retreated, and a figure walked out from behind the demonic beasts. Muyu took a closer look. It was actually Tian Ran. Who are you? Muyu asked cautiously. After experiencing so many illusions, he obviously wouldn't think that the person in front of him was Tian Ran. This person was obviously fake. I am the tablet spirit. Since you have entered the array tablet, you will need to undergo the array tablets test. The tablet spirit that looked like Tian Ran said innocently. Whether it was the tone or the actions, it was no different from the Tian Ran that Muyu knew. Then why did you appear in Tian Ran's appearance? Muyu asked. I don't have a form, so for convenience when communicating with others, I will appear in the appearance of the person you like the most. This way, you won't feel abrupt. The tablet spirit said innocently. Muyu helplessly shook his head. It would be strange if it wasn't abrupt, but he didn't want to refute anything. So he asked, what is my test? In this section of the tablet spirit, you will be tested on your wisdom in setting up arrays. You can choose 100 of these demonic beasts, and then I will guide you to defeat the demonic beasts in another place. The tablet spirit blinked. She appeared in Tian Ran's appearance, which indeed made Muyu very happy. But Muyu had to constantly remind himself that the tablet spirit wasn't Tian Ran. Can I see my opponents first? Muyu sized up the demonic beasts around him. The strongest of these demonic beasts was about the same strength as him. Yes, you can follow me. Tian Ran smiled faintly and led Muyu to fly over a big tree. Then, Muyu finally saw his opponents. What the F***CK was that dense and densely packed. There were countless black demonic beasts below, completely different from Muyu's white demonic beasts. What made Muyu speechless the most was that these demonic beasts were all rank 6 demonic beasts. If any of them stood out and roared, the rank 4 and rank 5 demonic beasts on his side would probably be scared to death. These are all rank 6 demonic beasts. After you choose, a rank 6 demonic beast will also stand out from the black demonic beasts. What you need to do is to command your demonic beast to defeat that rank 6 demonic beast. By the way, your demonic beast will obey your command and be able to understand your words. This is the only thing the weaker side can rely on. The tablet spirit said, "The strongest demonic beast on my side is rank 5. How can I defeat those rank 6 demonic beasts? Even if they fight together, I'm afraid that any rank 6 demonic beast will be able to drown my demonic beast with spit." Muyu felt that this was too difficult. A rank 6 demonic beast was equivalent to a spirit-severing stage cultivator, and the demonic beast on his side had the same cultivation as him. Although he had a lot of demonic beasts, even if they took turns to fight a rank 6 demonic beast, they would not be able to defeat it. This is the problem you should think about. When you become a Xiantian disciple, you must learn how to use the current limited resources under the weakest conditions to achieve the goal of defeating the strong. The most important quality of a Xiantian disciple is not cultivation, but wisdom and the ability to set up a formation. In the hands of a Xiantian disciple, everything can be set up. A real master must learn to play to his strengths and avoid his weaknesses. As long as you set up the formation properly, even if your strength is weak, it will be more than enough to defeat the opponent. The tablet spirit said, "Defeating the strong with the weak, only then can you show the true strength of a master." The tablet spirit seemed to know that Muyu's cultivation was in the out-of-body stage, so she made Muyu's opponent to be a rank 6 demonic beast, which was equivalent to the spirit-severing stage, which was 1 level higher than Muyu's. The highest cultivation level of the demonic beast that Muyu could command was only in the out-of-body stage. This was completely like hitting a stone with an egg. The possibility of winning was too slim. The flow of time here is different from the outside. A quarter of an hour outside is equivalent to a day here, but this is not suitable for cultivation. It is just a fictional world, so don't rely on it to do anything. 2 days later, no matter if you choose your demonic beast or not, the other party will send a rank 6 demonic beast to attack you, so be careful. In here, your cultivation will not be suppressed. If you want to get out, there are only 2 ways. Either you defeat your opponent, or you control all the demonic beasts to be annihilated. The tablet spirit looked at Muyu one last time, and then disappeared. Muyu remembered that when he was in the Withered Tree Valley, because he was grounded by Deadwood Daddy, he used the dragon's power to make the demonic beasts in the valley obedient. He also set up a 100 beast formation. This 100 beast formation had not been used for a long time, but he did not expect it to be used here. Muyu thought of Deadwood's father again. Back then, Deadwood had specially given Muyu some pointers on the 100 beast array, allowing him to perfect it even more. Chapter 379. There was a reason why the disciples of the Array faction were divided into Xiantian, Mid-Heaven, and Hotian disciples, because each level of disciple possessed a different level of comprehensive ability. Hotian disciples only needed to understand the basics of array formations and learn how to use sufficient resources to arrange array formations, as well as perform better than others under the same conditions. For example, when Muyu had attempted the 3rd A trigrams, he had faced stars that could change their forms. Although they were both stars, he had to use the stars he controlled to defeat the stars controlled by the array formation. Not only did a mid-heaven disciple need to have the characteristics of a Hotian disciple, but they also needed to know how to adapt. For example, if our array formation was changed, what would happen, and how to use the smallest changes to completely transform one array formation into another array formation. Many array formations were actually similar, but because of the different positions of the array bases and array eyes, they would produce different effects. Many Hotian disciples knew how to arrange array formations, but they did not know how to change them, so they could not be compared to a mid-heaven disciple. A Xiantian disciple naturally needed to have the characteristics of a Hotian or mid-heaven disciple, but they also needed to know how to use the least amount of resources to maximize the effect of array formation. In the eyes of a Sciention array master, everything in the world was interconnected, and as long as they used the right method, they could use anything as array base or array I. A top Sciention array master not only needed to be resourceful and creative, but also had to have a strong temperament. Very few people were able to pass the test of temperament. The Advancement Hall's array steel was specially designed for mid-heaven disciples, and many mid-heaven disciples were unable to pass the test of the array steel because they lacked the creativity to create array formations. Facing so many demonic beasts, they would not know what to do, especially when their opponents were demonic beasts that were an entire level higher than them, and the strongest demonic beast they had was only equal to their own strength. Most mid-heaven disciples would directly choose the strongest demonic beast to fight and did not know how to complement each other. Facing a demonic beast that was an entire level higher than them, they had no chance of winning. Muyu carefully examined the characteristics of the black demonic beasts. These sixth-order demonic beasts represented the most complete variety of demonic beasts in all three continents. There were demonic beasts that flew in the sky, ran on the ground, swam in the water, thick-skinned, nimble, sharp teeth, hard claws, venom-spitting demonic beasts, ugly cries, everything. I can only choose a total of 100 demonic beasts, and the strength of these demonic beasts is not balanced. How should I choose? Muyu turned around and looked at his low-level demon beasts. The old, the weak, the sick, the pregnant, and the young were all happily circling around him as if they were going to the market. Muyu did not know whether to laugh or cry. When choosing a demonic beast, one had to consider many factors. Because the opponent was unknown, he did not know which sixth-ranked demonic beast he would be facing. Therefore, he had to take into account all kinds of situations and not go to extremes. If he knew that his opponent would be the thick-skinned, iron-armored rhinoceros or the venom-spitting scorpion-tailed spider, then he could choose the agile demonic beasts with hard claws that were not afraid of poison to fight. However, since he could not predict his opponent, he had to try his best to balance his demonic beasts. The powerful part of Muyu's 100 beast formation was that these beasts could learn from each other's strengths and make up for their weaknesses. They could bring out the strengths of each beast to the extreme. However, at that time, the formation did not consider one point, and that was that the pressure of a high-level demonic beast would affect the low-level demonic beasts. At that time, because of the existence of a dragon vine, its overbearing dragon aura could intimidate all the demonic beasts, making them unable to use their own aura to interfere with each other. But now that the dragon vine was not here, he had to consider the issue of the demonic beast's aura. However, these were all things that needed to be considered later. He had to first classify the demonic beasts. What made Muyu feel a little comforted was that these demonic beasts could obey his command. Fortunately, this was the case. Otherwise, he would have to think of a way to tame the demonic beasts. When would he be able to make his 100 beast formation? Come, listen to my command. The strong ones stand here, the big ones stand over there, and the fast ones stand in the middle. The demonic beasts with high IQ quickly understood that they should stand in a line. The demonic beasts with low IQ would always stand in a line blindly. For example, there were 3 third-ranked demonic beasts, cerebellum giant ants. These ants were as big as an elephant, but their heads were only the size of 2 of Muyu's fists. Their IQ was not high, and they stood in a daze, not knowing what type they were. Muyu sent them to the strength team. Although their heads were small, their strength was really amazing. This was the innate advantage of ants. There were also some demonic beasts that were hesitant, not knowing which side they should stand on. For example, there were 4 fifth-rank demonic beasts, blood spirit birds. They were both fast and lethal. One moment, they stood in the speed team, and the next moment, they swayed and flew to the attack team. After a long while, they felt that their speed was fast and ran back to the speed team, giving Muyu a headache. Okay, you guys stand in the speed team. Muyu sent the 4 blood spirit birds to the speed team, and then spent another 2 hours to classify the remaining demonic beasts. This process was actually very difficult, because even though he was experienced and knowledgeable, he still did not understand the characteristics of some demonic beasts. He thought that at this time, it would be good if Xiao Shui was here. Xiao Shui had stayed in the demon race for a long time and could be said to be an expert in demonic beasts. She would definitely be able to give very pertinent advice. Hundreds of demonic beasts stood in the formation. Then the next step was how to choose the formation of his 100 demonic beasts. Because the opponent was very strong, the aura of a 6th-rank demonic beast was able to intimidate low-ranked demonic beasts. So it was necessary to gather the aura of all the low-rank demonic beasts together to resist the pressure of a 6th-rank demonic beast. This was the first problem to be solved. A suitable formation could disperse the opponent's aura. Muyu had already thought of a few excellent formations to solve the problem of aura intimidation. 9-grade porcupine boar, black shield tortoise, 5 thunder speed eagle. When Muyu was setting up the formation, he had to clearly understand the strengths and weaknesses of each demonic beast. He counted the demonic beasts, and a few formations of 100 demonic beasts quickly appeared in his mind. As long as the formation of 100 demonic beasts was suitable, it was almost not difficult for the weak to defeat the strong. Soon, Muyu's impassioned command rang out among the demonic beasts, echoing with the demonic beasts snoring. However, because the one commanding was a demonic beast and not a human, the difficulty factor increased a lot. Little brain giant ant, you guys stand in the center, yes. Just stand there and don't move. Stare at the butt of the black shield tortoise in front. Follow it wherever it turns. Sleepy wolf, if you close your eyes and fall asleep again, I will let the fire spirit fox burn your tail. Pangolin beast, move 4 steps to the left. 4 steps is not 10 steps. Is my Mandarin so bad? Little wasp, let me see your wings. Flap your wings slower, or I can't see it. Slower, slower, yes, just like that. Hey, why did you fall down? I didn't ask you not to flap your wings. Have a melody, sparrow, we don't need you now. Sing a song for everyone to liven up the atmosphere. Limitless skunk, you're not allowed to fart anymore. You are smelling your teammates. Hold your fart for me. I will let you fart to your heart's content later. Muyu's mouth was dry from shouting. Fortunately, his 100 demonic beast formation had already taken shape. Because he didn't know which rank 6 demonic beast the opponent was facing, he had to adjust the formation to the most compatible state. It was equipped with both offense and defense. At the same time, he also prepared a few different formations to deal with any unexpected situation. Among the 100 demonic beasts, there were less than 10 rank 5 demonic beasts. Most of them were rank 4 and rank 3. If he commanded these demonic beasts to attack the rank 6 demonic beast in a disorderly manner, it was estimated that these low-rank demonic beasts would all be lying on the ground with a roar from the rank 6 demonic beast. Come, let's rehearse one more time. Everyone, remember your positions. Don't mess up. Little brain giant ant, how many times have I said it? Move while staring at the butt of the black shield tortoise, not the butt of the pangolin beast. The thick-skinned one is the black shield tortoise, and the one with a pointy body is the pangolin beast. How can you mix them up? Yes, that's it. You have to move quickly and follow your friends in front of you. Sleepy wolf, are you still sleeping when your butt is on fire? 9th age porcupine boar, when you move, don't erect your thorns. Look, you've pricked the face of the limitless skunk behind you into a cactus. Little wasp, you can flap your wings faster now. Just now, I only slowed you down because I wanted to see your body size clearly. Although the demonic beasts could understand Muyu's words and obey his commands, their cooperation with each other was still very unfamiliar. Muyu had to strictly tell them the distance to move. It couldn't be more or less. Otherwise, it would seriously disrupt the formation. Muyu spent another 20 or so hours to train his own formation. Then, he continuously improved it and changed the demonic beasts, increasing the margin for error. Because of the existence of the rank 3 demonic beast, little brain giant ant, it was quite difficult to make a good formation. Their intelligence was too low. Even if he told them 10 times, they still wouldn't remember. However, because they were the most suitable demonic beasts, Muyu could only think about how to make up for their mistakes. From being hesitant at the beginning to having all the demonic beasts listen to his commands, It only took a little more than a day. It was already quite rare to achieve this result. Fellow demon beasts, we need to sing a song from time to time to boost morale, liven up the atmosphere, and relax. Muyu used the rest of the time to form a choir according to the tones of different demonic beasts. This was what he was best at. When he was in the Withered Tree Valley, he had filled the entire deathly silent valley with sounds of singing. There was no need to mention how lively it was. To be honest, the tone of the ant really didn't match Muyu's song, but he didn't have the heart to dampen the ant's enthusiasm, so he could only helplessly wait for it to finish. Then he waved the branch in his hand, knocked on the shield of the black tortoise, and said loudly, "Unity is strength ready. Sing." All the demonic beasts looked at the branch in Muyu's hand and began to sing loudly. They were actually humming a decent song. Their voices were the background music, and the lyrics were all sung by Muyu alone. This choir that Muyu had formed when he was bored was quite shocking. After the song ended, every demonic beast's blood was boiling. Even the sleepy wolf was full of energy. Tomorrow, we will definitely defeat that rank 6 demonic beast. We will make that rank 6 demonic beast regret making us its enemy. We will let it know that although our strength can't compare to it, we can still defeat it. Muyu confidently glanced at his little companions, full of hope for tomorrow's battle. Chapter 380. 2 days passed in the blink of an eye, and the time to confront the rank 6 monster had finally arrived. Muyu's side was made up of trained shrimp soldiers and crab generals, while the opponent was a high rank 6 monster. If the monster was 1 rank higher, it wouldn't be a problem for one to fight against 1,000, not to mention Muyu's pitiful 100 monster beasts, which looked too weak to stand up to the wind. It could be said that the rank 6 monster beast had the absolute advantage in terms of strength and momentum. It all depended on whether Muyu could rely on the 100 beast formation to get rid of the opponent or not. Roar! A terrifying aura came from afar. It was the aura of a rank 6 monster beast, which was equivalent to a human spirit severing stage cultivator. The majestic pressure made Muyu's heart palpitate incomparably. The few third-order monster beasts on his side even panicked and fell to the ground, trembling. They were just short of running away. The pressure from a high-order monster beast on a low-order monster beast was too much for these low-order monster beasts to bear. Muyu forced himself to calm down. As the eye of the 100 beast formation, if he had a problem, then the other monster beasts would be even more vulnerable. Calm down. We don't need to be afraid of it. Remember, our target is... Do. The cerebellum giant ant at the front called out twice, indicating that this battle was not optimistic at all. These small monster beasts would lose without a doubt. Muyu patted his head and said, "In short, we will definitely defeat the opponent. Everyone don't panic." As the aura got closer and closer, the pressure on Muyu and his 100 beast array also increased. Many monster beasts began to let out low cries. Obviously, they were scared out of their wits by the aura of this high-level monster beast. Muyu shouted, "100 beasts crane formation." All the monster beasts began to move. They mixed with each other in an orderly manner, forming a huge 100 beast crane formation. This formation looked like a white crane spreading its wings. On the left and right sides, 30 rank 4 armored bulls formed the crane wings. The blood spirit bird circled above the armored bulls, chirping briskly. In the middle of the crane wing formation, the black armored tortoise was the head, followed by the cerebellum giant ant, and the pangolin beast was protecting the cerebellum giant ant. The slumber wolf and the other demonic beasts formed a crane tail, waiting for an opportunity to strike. The 100 beasts crane wing formation formed a sharp aura. With the black shell tortoise as the leader, all the demonic beasts gathered their own aura on the black shell tortoise. Like a hot knife through butter, the 100 beast crane wing formation tore apart the pressure created by the majestic rank 6 demonic beasts. The combined aura of these demonic beasts faintly surpassed that of the 6th-order demonic beast. Those weaker demonic beasts immediately stood up straight. As the eye of the formation, Muyu was also the commander of the 100 Beast Crane Wing Formation. He was in the air above the giant ants, protected by the double-winged Shadow Condor and the 5 Thunder Speed Eagle. 20 or so little wasps were scattered all over the 100 Beast Formation. They were responsible for monitoring the operation of every part of the formation and reporting problems back to Muyu in time so that he could make adjustments. Sha! 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 In the forest ahead, the sound of a certain demonic beast's footsteps on the leaves could be heard. Although this sound was very weak, it was like a drum beating on the hearts of Muyu and all the other demonic beasts. That kind of aura still made everyone feel uncomfortable, but because all the demonic beasts had gathered their own aura, the trembling from their souls had disappeared. This was the best beginning. Then, a small black cat walked in front of the 100 Beast Formation and sat down on its front legs. Its brown eyes were sizing up the 100 Beast Crane Wing Formation with interest. Our opponent is a rank 6 little cat. Muyu was stunned for a moment. Not only him, all the other demonic beasts also felt that something was wrong. Such a small cat could actually scare them to this extent. This small black cat then stretched out its small claws and began to run around licking as if there was no one around. It even let out a satisfied meow from time to time. Big brother, we are fighting. Can you be more serious? Muyu didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he looked at this small black cat. The aura it was emitting definitely came from a rank 6 demonic beast, but its body was really too small. He felt that his 100 Beast Formation could flatten it with just 2 steps. The small-brained giant suddenly made 2 dula sounds in panic. Muyu frowned as his gaze fell on the small black cat's head. Suddenly, his expression changed slightly. How was this a small black cat? It was a terrifying phantom netherworld cat. I can really see all kinds of demonic beasts here. Muyu cursed under his breath. He had already recognized the true appearance of his cute little cat. The phantom netherworld cat was a very difficult and powerful existence among the rank 6 demonic beasts. Its appearance was that of a house cat, but if you treated it as a house cat, you wouldn't even know how you died. There were 3 small eyes hidden around the phantom netherworld cat's eyes. Usually, these 3 small eyes were tightly shut. Once they opened, it was the time for them to show their true power. Every time the phantom netherworld cat opened an eye, its body would change once. Its power would also change according to the number of eyes it opened. When the 3 hidden eyes were completely opened, even the long-armed ape, the overlord of the rank 6 demonic beasts, would not be its match. Muyu had already put away his earlier contempt. He focused his attention and was on guard. Seeing that the small cat was still leisurely licking its claws, he decided to take the cat by surprise first. 5 Thunder Speed Eagle, Lightning Treat, Wing Shadow Condor, Shadow Wing Slash. Muyu gave out the order. The 5 Thunder Speed Eagle and Wing Shadow Condor around him instantly turned into streaks of light. Lightning and shadow wings intertwined as they struck towards the phantom netherworld cat. The Mirage netherworld cat lazily raised its head. With a light slap of its little paw, all of the lightning shadow wings were scattered by its paw. The 5 Thunder Speed Eagle and Wing Shadow Condor were considered very powerful existences among the rank 5 demonic beasts. But their combined attack was not even qualified to force the phantom netherworld cat to move. Now, once the piercing spear is out, give me your chrysanthemum. Muyu shouted. Many sharp spikes suddenly emerged from the ground of the phantom netherworld cat. These spikes came from the tails of the piercing beasts. The tails of the piercing beasts were rather strange. They could lengthen their tails and burrow into the ground, attacking their enemies from a long distance away. Meow! The Mirage netherworld cat's eyes widened, and it jumped up reflexively. Although it wasn't injured at all after being stabbed by a spike, it wasn't a pleasant thing to be stabbed in the butt. Meow! The phantom netherworld cat was angered by Muyu. It cried out twice and charged towards the 100 Beast Formation like a bolt of lightning. Its speed was so fast that it exceeded Muyu's imagination. Black Shell Shield! Muyu immediately shouted. The formation began to shrink, forming a circle around the phantom netherworld cat. All of the demonic beasts began to gather their own demonic spirits onto the black armored tortoise. After that, the black armored tortoise's body shook, and an illusory image slowly rose from its shell. This illusory image rapidly grew and enveloped all of the demonic beasts within it, forming a transparent black armored shield. At the same time, the phantom netherworld cat's body appeared in front of the black shell tortoise. Its sharp claws shot out and scratched the black shell shield. Boom! The entire 100-beast formation shook violently. No one would have thought that the black shell shield would be forcefully pushed 3 feet away by the phantom netherworld cat's claws. One had to know that Muyu's 100-beast formation was nearly 200 square meters in size, and this mirage netherworld cat was only the size of Muyu's foot. However, it was able to send such a huge formation flying with a single swipe of its paw. As expected of a rank 6 demonic beast, the phantom netherworld cat's terrifying strength was obvious. Cracks began to appear on the black shell shield. The most powerful part of the rank 5 black shell tortoise was its shield. Among the rank 5 demonic beasts, no demonic beast was able to break through its black shell shield. Not to mention, the black shell shield was formed from the power of all the demonic beasts. This was already an extraordinary display of strength. The toughness of the black shell shield was something that ordinary rank 6 demonic beasts might not be able to do anything to. Unfortunately, it was facing a rank 6 phantom netherworld cat. It was a king amongst the rank 6 demonic beasts. The moment the black shell shield came into contact with the phantom netherworld cat's claws, cracks began to appear. Pong, pong, pong. The phantom netherworld cat's claws only managed to create a small crack. It was not enough to break through the entire black shell shield. Its figure had already disappeared, and it continued to attack the black shell shield from different directions. All the demonic beasts could only see countless shadows of the phantom netherworld cat in front of their eyes. After that, their bodies began to sway uncontrollably. Fortunately, Muyu's 100-beast formation was able to link all the demonic beasts' auras together. Otherwise, with the phantom netherworld cat's strength, the entire formation would have been turned into a mess. This won't do. This is too passive. Muyu's mind raced. The phantom netherworld cat had almost no weaknesses among the rank 6 demonic beasts. Whether it was its speed, strength, or defense, they were all extremely strong. With such a small figure, it was able to force Muyu's 100-beast formation to retreat step by step before it even opened its eyes. Not to mention, it still had 3 eyes that had yet to open. In terms of size, Muyu's 100-beast formation was a little cumbersome. In front of the phantom netherworld cat, it could only endure the claws of the phantom netherworld cat. Coupled with its extremely fast speed, it was impossible to hit its body. The phantom netherworld cat's senses were one of the best. It could easily sense the changes in the air and react in time. Slumber wolves, you've slept for so long. It's time to get up and move around. At this moment, the black shell shield was already filled with spiderweb-like cracks. If the phantom netherworld cat managed to break a hole in the shield and charged in, all the low-tier demonic beasts would basically be killed by it. If that was the case, this battle would be over. Over 10 slumber wolves opened their sleepy eyes and howled towards the sky. Streaks of yellow aura rose from their bodies and gradually covered the entire black shell shield. This yellow aura was like a second layer of the protective shield, emitting a strange smell. Selah. The black shell shield was finally broken, and the phantom netherworld cat's figure charged in. However, the yellow aura suddenly transformed into numerous ferocious wolf shadows that pounced towards the phantom netherworld cat. The phantom netherworld cat looked at these wolf shadows with disdain. With just a wave of its aura, it shattered all the wolf shadows. This was too easy. They couldn't even withstand a single blow. However, the phantom netherworld cat's figure gradually slowed down. A wave of tiredness swept over it, and it actually felt an irresistible drowsiness spread throughout its body. Yawning, It landed on the ground and began to close its eyes. Although the slumber wolves were only fourth-grade demonic beasts, they had an extremely powerful sleeping aura that could cause other demonic beasts to quickly fall asleep. Whether it was hunting or hiding, they relied on this unstoppable aura to cause their opponents to fall into a deep sleep. Then, they would be able to capture their prey or escape. Because the phantom netherworld cat's senses were extremely developed, this kind of aura had an even greater effect on it. In just a short moment, the phantom netherworld cat actually began to snore lightly. We must not let it open its third eye. Otherwise, it'll be even more difficult to deal with. Under Mu Yu's signal, all the demonic beasts quietened down, not wanting to disturb the phantom netherworld cat's sleep. This was a rather strange scene. It was originally a lively battle, but in an instant, it became completely silent. Chapter 381. This battle was very strange. An incomparably valiant little cat against the imposing 100 beasts formation. It originally had the absolute upper hand, but Mu Yu was still defeated by the little cat. Although he had temporarily subdued this rank 6 demonic beast, even Mu Yu didn't know how to kill this mirage, netherworld cat. This made Mu Yu feel troubled. Right at this moment, the small-brained giant ant suddenly made a series of do-la noises. Its pair of long antennae bent down and pointed at its eyes, making do-la gestures. You're saying that if I want to kill it, I have to blind its eyes? Mu Yu asked curiously. The small-brained giant ant nodded, then shook its head. It pointed at its eyes, closed them, and then opened them again. The small-brained giant ant was a little dazed. Communicating with it wasn't an easy task. Oh, you're saying that it's useless to blind its 2 normal eyes, but it has to blind its 3 tightly shut eyes? Mu Yu looked at the small-brained giant ant's gestures for a long time and finally understood what it meant. The Mirage netherworld cat's most powerful point was its 3 hidden eyes. However, these 3 eyes were also its weakness. Once all 3 eyes were blind, the Mirage netherworld cat would die. Therefore, it wouldn't open its eyes unless it was absolutely necessary. Even if it did, it wouldn't open all of its eyes unless its opponent was really powerful to the point of being invincible. And to deal with Mu Yu's 100 beast formation, which was only rank 5 at most, it didn't even need to open its eyes. Now that the Mirage netherworld cat had fallen into a deep sleep, its hidden eyes were also tightly shut. He had to think of a way to pry open its eyelids and start from its eyes. Mu Yu signaled all the demonic beasts to back off and wait for orders. He tiptoed over alone and squatted in front of the little cat. This wasn't a very pleasant process. Although the Mirage netherworld cat was asleep, its rank 6 demonic beast aura had already spread out in all directions, suppressing Mu Yu and causing Mu Yu's heart to tremble in fear. This was going to provoke the Almighty. Moreover, Mu Yu was certain that if he destroyed one of its eyes, the intense pain would definitely wake it up. When that time came, Mu Yu would definitely not be able to escape. If he wanted to defeat it in one blow, he would have to destroy all 3 of its eyes. The Mirage netherworld cat had 2 normal eyes. Of the remaining 3, one was in the middle of its forehead, while the other 2 were on the sides of its eyes. Mu Yu carefully pried open one of the eyes and found that the eyelid was too tight, so he couldn't pry it open. However, he did not dare to use too much force, as he was worried that he would wake this fellow up. Mu Yu stood up. He had to rethink his strategy. Rank 6 demonic beasts were extremely terrifying, and the Mirage netherworld cat was at the top of the food chain of rank 6 demonic beasts. Other than blinding its 3 eyes, there was no other way to kill it. However, in order to pass the test of the erase steel, they had to kill this phantom netherworld cat. Even Mu Yu and his underlings were unable to make it open its 3rd eye, let alone kill it. Seems like this is the only way. Mu Yu returned to the 100 beasts array. He could only think of a way to make this phantom netherworld cat open its remaining eye. Although this meant that he would have to face the phantom netherworld cat that had its strength multiplied after opening its 3rd eye, and he might have to pay a painful price. The 100 beasts array might even be shattered. However, this was the only way. When would the phantom netherworld cat open its other eyes? unless its normal eyes could no longer see. Muyu found the forest skunk. Not only did this fellow know how to fart, but it also knew how to use a type of blinding venom. Once this venom splashed into the eyes of any demonic beast, it would permanently blind them. However, Muyu knew that this forest skunk's venom might be effective against some rank 4 or rank 5 demonic beasts, but against the rank 6 Mirage Netherworld cat, it would only blind it for 2 to 4 hours. It was impossible to rely on venom to kill the phantom Netherworld cat. Right now, he could only give a try, as long as he could ensure that the phantom Netherworld cat would be blinded while waking it up. This way, in order to be able to see Muyu, it would definitely open its remaining eye. Seems like I can't avoid a fierce battle. Muyu pinched his nose and collected some of the forest skunk's venom. Then, he carefully used his spirit energy to smear the venom on the phantom Netherworld cat's eyelids. As long as it was awakened, the venom would definitely flow into its 2 eyes, blinding it. Then, it would open its remaining 3 eyes. As for how to blind the 3rd eye, it would depend on the situation. It would be best if the 3rd eye was also blinded by the skunk. That would save a lot of trouble. Muyu smeared the venom all over the phantom Netherworld cat's eyes. It almost flowed in through the gaps between its eyes. Then, he smeared the venom on the other 3 eyes. However, these 3 eyes were well protected by its fur. There was even a layer of membrane on top of them, so the venom did not flow down. Muyu tried a few times, but all of them ended in failure. It was obvious that the phantom Netherworld cat was very good at protecting its Achilles heel. Muyu could only give up. What did this forest skunk eat? Why is it so smelly? Even the food that little handsome eats every day doesn't stink so much. Muyu muttered as he smeared the venom. However, at this moment, the phantom Netherworld cat suddenly opened its eyes. F***CK. Oh my god. Muyu was startled. It was obvious that the stench had woken it up. This was not good. The phantom Netherworld cat was a rank 6 demonic beast, which was equivalent to a spirit-severing stage cultivator. Muyu was only an out-of-body stage cultivator. Being so close to the phantom Netherworld cat was simply courting death. However, the phantom Netherworld cat began to shake its head. It did not directly attack Muyu. Instead, it used its paws to rub its eyes in panic. The forest skunk's venom had taken effect. Although the phantom Netherworld cat's eyes were blind, it had locked onto Muyu. It swung its paw at Muyu. Because in the time it was stunned, Muyu had already run back, and its paw missed. Muyu returned to the 100 Beast formation and shouted. All the demonic beasts immediately went on alert in an orderly manner. The profound armor shield also covered the entire 100 Beast formation once again. Roar! The phantom Netherworld cat's voice was no longer the crisp meow of a cat. Instead, it was a furious roar. It was enraged after discovering that it had lost its sight. It was a demonic beast with a keen sense of smell. The forest skunk's venom had almost affected its sense of smell. The phantom Netherworld cat's body trembled, and all the venom was dispersed. However, its eyes were already blind. It roared angrily and suddenly opened its 3rd eye. The venom around the 3rd eye had already dissipated. When the phantom Netherworld cat opened its 3rd eye, its aura exploded like a mountain torrent. Its aura doubled, and its body began to emit crackling sounds. Its body also began to grow. In just a few moments, the phantom Netherworld cat, which was originally a small kitten, had already grown to the height of a small house. After the transformation, the phantom Netherworld cat first stood on end like sharp thorns. Its tail was also like an iron rod. Muyu did not even consider the possibility of survival if he was swept by the tail. As its body grew larger, its aura was no longer that of a simple phantom Netherworld cat, but majestic phantom Netherworld tiger. The phantom Netherworld tiger roared at the sky, and a terrifying shockwave spread out, instantly crushing all the plants around it. The ground also began to crack, and the cracks extended continuously. It was actually heading towards Muyu's 100 Beast formation. Winged shadow condor, great rock spreads its wings. Muyu had already shifted the entire formation's center of gravity from the black shell tortoise to the winged shadow condor. The winged shadow condor gathered the demonic energy of all the demonic beasts, and with a flap of its wings, it actually brought the entire 100 Beast formation into the sky. Small-brained giant ant, close your eyes. I know you're afraid of heights. If you're afraid of heights, why are you still opening your eyes? Muyu scolded. Then he remembered that when he first stepped into the cultivation world, he was also constantly mocked by Lan Ling, because of his fear of heights. Although he wasn't afraid of heights now, he felt a sense of empathy towards the small-brained giant ant, so he changed his words. Actually, no matter if it's a human or a demonic beast, it doesn't matter if you're afraid of heights. Those who are afraid of heights have a brighter future. Hurry up and close your eyes. The little wasp had already flown to the small-brained giant ant's side to help guide the direction of the small-brained giant ant with its eyes closed, so that this big dumb fellow wouldn't drop the ball. The entire 100 Beast formation flew higher and higher. Muyu concluded that the phantom netherworld tiger couldn't fly, so this was its advantage. The phantom netherworld tiger only had one eye left, and its vision was greatly restricted. However, it still leaped up vigorously, leaving only a shadow of its huge body. It actually jumped directly to the height of the 100 Beast formation, and its claw was already swiping towards the 100 Beast formation. Holy shit, isn't your jumping ability too scary? Muyu's 100 Beast formation was currently a few hundred meters above the ground, but the phantom netherworld tiger was actually able to jump to such a terrifying height. This claw was the strength of the phantom netherworld tiger after it opened its eye. It was much more abnormal than when it was in its original kitten form. If this claw were to land, the consequences would be unimaginable. Fortunately, the winged shadow condor's speed was also very fast. In the blink of an eye, it dodged the phantom netherworld tiger's attack. No matter how powerful the phantom netherworld tiger was, it wasn't a human. It couldn't rely on spiritual power and magic treasures to fly. After missing its attack, its entire body fell down. However, after a while, it jumped up again. The tiger's claw, which was as light as a cicada's wing, whistled through the air. It was definitely not a joke. 9th-year-old porcupine boar, torrential pear, blossom needles. 4 9th-year-old porcupine boars jumped to the 4 positions of the 100 Beast formation, then rolled into a ball of spikes. The ball of spikes quickly spun, and countless sharp spikes shot outwards. 9th-year-old porcupine boars were rank 4 demonic beasts. Even rank 5 demonic beasts wouldn't dare to easily block their spikes. When the phantom netherworld tiger jumped up again, the 9th-year-old porcupine boar's spikes shot towards the phantom netherworld tiger like a torrential rain of pear blossom needles. These spikes didn't hurt the phantom netherworld tiger at all. They were all bounced off. However, when the phantom netherworld tiger fell, it let out an angry roar. It turned out that the pear blossom needles had almost pierced its third eye. There's a chance. Muyu was delighted. He realized that although the 9th-year-old porcupine boar's pear blossom needles couldn't do anything to the phantom netherworld tiger's body, it was very afraid that its third eye would be pierced. As long as it continued to fly high, the phantom netherworld tiger would jump up and stab it again and again. It didn't believe that it wouldn't be able to find a chance to blind it. When the phantom netherworld tiger realized that it couldn't do anything to Muyu, who was high up in the sky, and might even be in danger of being blinded, it immediately calmed down and didn't continue to jump up. Haha, you're an idiot, aren't you? Come again if you have the ability. Muyu laughed loudly from above. He knew that this fellow would definitely be able to understand his words. He was prepared to enrage it and let it continue to be baptized by the pear blossom needles. However, the phantom netherworld tiger's third eye turned extremely cold. It let out a low roar, then opened its 4th and 5th eyes on both sides. An aura that could topple mountains and overturn seas rushed into the clouds, almost overturning the entire 100 Beast formation. The phantom netherworld tiger's body doubled in size again. Under Muyu's astonished gaze, it actually grew a pair of black, transparent wings. The wings were 10 feet long, and the feathers were like black iron. They let out a crisp sound as they hit each other. Then, with a flap of the huge wings, it flew high up into the sky and stared at Muyu. Chapter 382. At this moment, the phantom nether tiger had transformed into a phantom winged tiger. This was something that Muyu never expected. Although he knew that the phantom nether tiger still had 2 eyes that hadn't opened, he didn't know what would happen after this fellow opened its eyes. But now he knew. I was just joking just now. Don't mind me. Muyu looked at the phantom winged tiger from afar, appearing to be a little uneasy. After the phantom winged tiger had wings, its entire body was like a mountain, and its aura was comparable to a cultivator at the 9th level of the spirit severing stage. It was no longer the little kitten just now. Speaking of which, he couldn't even beat the little kitten just now, let alone this big cat. Roar! The illusory winged tiger opened its bloody mouth and roared at the 100 Beast formation. The powerful airflow was like a hurricane, causing the 100 Beast formation to tremble in the wind. It kept swaying and was on the verge of collapse. The 100 Beast formation's aura that was gathered by all the demonic beasts was instantly suppressed. All the demonic beasts, once again, felt the terrifying pressure from their souls. The 4 9th Age porcupines were originally rolling there and shooting pear blossom rain needles. Who knew that the phantom winged tiger had already blown away all the porcupines in one breath? And the poor porcupines were also sent flying, smashing into their companions, causing the entire 100 Beast formation to be in a mess. Don't panic, 100 Beast crescent formation. Muyu managed to stabilize all the demonic beasts in time. Seeing the phantom winged tiger still roaring and spewing endlessly, he muttered that this fellow's lung capacity was really big. He immediately commanded the demonic beasts to change their formation. In order to be able to fly, the 100 Beast formation had already shrunk into a circle. At this moment, all the demonic beasts heard Muyu's command and immediately spread out again, transforming into a crescent moon. The demonic beasts turned into a barrier, using the curved surface to disperse the phantom winged tiger's powerful airflow. The phantom winged tiger flapped its wings and pounced towards the 100 Beast formation. Its claws that were thicker than pillars smashed towards the 100 Beast formation with a roar that could destroy the heavens. After it had wings, its speed had reached an unimaginable level. It was just a phantom, and it had already reached the back of the 100 Beast formation, slapping down with its claws. The small-brained giant ant has immense strength. It was too late to dodge. Muyu immediately ordered the cerebellum giant ant to receive the attack. The strength of an ant was already terrifying, and the cerebellum giant ant was able to unleash an endless amount of power. All the demonic beasts in the 100 Beast formation gathered their demonic energy onto the 3 small brain giant ants. The 3 small brain giant ants let out a series of doo-la noises. Then, the entire formation transformed into a huge tiger claw that was exactly the same as the phantom flying winged tiger's claw. The 2 tiger claws collided with each other, and suddenly, an earth-shattering roar sounded. Billowing chi waves sprayed out, and the heaven and earth seemed to be torn apart. The 100 Beasts array could not withstand such a palm, and suddenly the entire array collapsed. All the demon beasts fled in all directions. Those that could fly had already flown away, and those that could not fly had all fallen down. The illusionary winged tiger's sharp gaze locked onto the core of the 100 Beast formation, which was Muyu, who was standing behind the winged shadow condor. With a whistling sound, it once again pounced towards Muyu. As long as it defeated Muyu, this battle would be over. The winged shadow condor's flying speed could be considered the overlord among the rank 5 demonic beasts. However, its speed could not be compared to the terrifying rank 6 illusionary winged tiger. This kind of terrifying species was extremely terrifying in terms of strength, speed, and defense. Muyu looked at the illusionary winged tiger's claw coming towards him. However, he was surprisingly calm. He urged the winged shadow condor to land quickly on the ground. However, the illusionary winged tiger's wings were like hooks, hooking onto Mu Yu on the winged shadow condor. Then, its claws slammed onto Mu Yu's body. Mu Yu once again felt an earth-shattering pain. His body was hit by the terrifying tiger claw, and he saw stars. His bones were shattered once again. However, at the same time that his bones were shattered, the black and white spiritual energy in his body surged out again. Interacting with each other, the recovery speed this time was much faster than before. This strange phenomenon made Mu Yu feel incredulous. Therefore, at this moment, he had only entered this place with his consciousness. Why could the black and white spiritual energy still follow him like a shadow? However, Mu Yu did not have time to think too much about it. The injuries on his body had already healed. He immediately stabilized his body. Then, he grabbed a falling pangolin beast beside him and flipped over to ride it. When the pangolin beast was about to land, its thin and pointed tail suddenly lengthened. It swung on the ground and relied on the recoil to slow down the speed of its fall. Then, it landed heavily on the ground. Mu Yu jumped off the pangolin beast's back. His 100-beast formation was in tatters. Many of the demonic beasts that could not fly were already on the verge of death when they fell. However, the phantom flying tiger's figure swooped down toward Mu Yu again. Its wings flapped left and right, and sharp wing blades cut through the void and slashed toward Mu Yu. Mu Yu's figure dodged, but the two wing blades followed him like a shadow. They actually turned a corner and chased after Mu Yu. A armored bull had just stood up and was immediately struck by the wing blades. Its huge body was instantly split into two halves, turning into white light spots and disappearing. Now's the time, blood spirit bird. Mu Yu roared and jumped high into the sky. The blood mist that filled the sky suddenly spread out and shrouded the phantom flying tiger. This blood mist was extremely sticky. Even with the phantom flying tiger's strong airflow, it could not disperse it. The airflow passed through without any obstruction, but the blood mist still shrouded the phantom flying tiger. This blood mist was the blood spirit bird's innate ability. They could stimulate their own blood and turn it into a blood mist. It had no lethality and was only used to block vision. Moreover, the range of its effect was very small. It could not cover the huge volume of the 100-beast formation and could only delay the opponent for a while. The blood mist also had another ability. The demonic beasts that were hidden in the blood mist would have their auras cut off. The pressure of the rank 6 phantom flying tiger would lose its effect in the blood mist. When the phantom flying tiger rushed out of the blood mist, the yellow aura of the slumber wolf had already rushed toward it. This time, the phantom flying tiger had learned its lesson. When it saw the yellow aura, it had already held its breath. It was a very smart demonic beast. After suffering once, it would definitely not suffer a second time. However, although it held its breath, it did not cover its ears. The cries of the 5 heaven-tone sparrows suddenly resounded in the phantom flying tiger's ears, causing its head to become muddled. It felt as if it had been hit with a stick. The heaven sound sparrow was a demonic beast that could sing. Their singing voice was like the sound of nature. Many demonic beasts like to listen to their songs. However, once they were angered, the sound of nature would become the echo of the Grim Reaper. The echo of death of the heaven-toned sparrows could impact the opponent's consciousness and make them lose consciousness for a short time. Generally speaking, the closer the distance, the greater the effect of the echo of death. This ability was used by the heaven-toned sparrows to get rid of their natural enemies when they were about to be captured. When Mu Yu first set up the formation, he did not dare to let the heaven-toned sparrow use its full power. It could easily hurt his own people. However, the rank 6 demonic beast was too strong. He was afraid that it would be torn apart by the heaven-toned sparrow before it could use its echo of death. Therefore, this was his backup plan. However, the heaven sonic sparrow was only a 4th-rank demonic beast. It didn't have much fighting power. The only death echo could only make the enemy lose consciousness for a short period of time. Facing the powerful phantom flying tiger, the The door-knocking stick could only be used for a short period of time. The phantom flying tiger woke up in less than a breath after losing consciousness. Muyu took advantage of this short breath. A battle between masters was ever-changing. One person was enough to do a lot of things. The stench of the underworld skunk and the hypnotic fog of the soul-devouring wolf once again enveloped the illusionary eye-winged tiger. The moment it lost consciousness, it involuntarily sucked in a breath, and it was this breath that brought it back to fatigue. Neither the limitless skunk nor the soul-devouring wolf could fly. However, they always had the little wasp beside them. The little wasp was a kind of hard-working, demonic beast. It was as small as a wasp, but could carry a ton of weight. It was very terrifying. Not only could it carry the limitless skunk and the soul-devouring wolf to fly, but it could also shoot poisonous needles. Originally, this kind of poisonous needle was not worth mentioning in front of the phantom flying tiger. However, at this moment, it seized the opportunity, and all the poisonous needles were like drizzling rain, piercing towards the phantom flying tiger's 3 eyes. When the illusory winged tiger opened all 3 of its eyes, it would unleash a terrifying power. Due to the increase in size, the 3 eyes would also become very large. However, these 3 eyes were relatively weak. Even a blade of grass could be fatal to them. Therefore, unless it was absolutely necessary, they did not want to open their eyes. Now, all of them had opened their eyes because they were angered by Muyu. When the phantom flying tiger regained consciousness, it blew out a powerful force, wanting to shatter these poisonous needles. Countless poisonous needles were shattered. However, there were still a few poisonous needles that pierced into the phantom flying tiger's left eye. Roar! The phantom flying tiger groaned in pain. Its body rolled over. Its left eye had already been pierced by the poisonous needles. At the same time, its left wing had also disappeared. Only its right wing was still flapping with all its might. However, how could a single wing be able to move its massive body? In an instant, its mountain-like body plummeted to the ground like a meteor. Boom! With an earth-shattering sound, the phantom flying tiger's body smashed a huge hole in the ground. Smoke and dust flew in all directions. Then, its right wing disappeared as well. Its body rapidly shrank, turning back into the phantom dark tiger. It closed its right eye, afraid of losing another eye. It only opened its middle eye. Muyu's flying sword had already pierced towards the middle eye of the phantom dark tiger. It howled and closed its middle eye again. Its body rapidly shrank again, turning back into the small and exquisite phantom dark cat. The phantom dark cat's one eye had been blinded. It seemed to have suffered a great deal of damage. Its entire aura was dispirited and weak. Its originally insufferably oppressive aura as a 6th-order demonic beast had also disappeared. It had turned into a pitiful little kitten, shivering in fear. The forest skunk's venom had already dissipated. The phantom dark cat's normal eyes had regained its vision. However, one of its eyes, which concerned its life, had been injured. This had already caused it to lose its original agility. Facing Muyu's sword, it wanted to struggle and dodge, but it was unable to. This sword's aura was enough to take its life. Muyu's heart softened. In the end, he still put away his sword. After injuring one of its eyes, he didn't know if it could still fly in the future. The little kitten was no longer his match, but he didn't want to kill it. Forget it, you can leave. I don't have any enmity with you. Muyu shrugged. He hadn't come here to pass the stone tablets test and become a Xiantian disciple. He had only come here by accident. Becoming a Xiantian disciple had many things to worry about. Muyu wasn't ready yet, so it was best not to be too flamboyant. In this battle, his 100 Beast formation had defeated the illusionary Netherworld cat, which was more than enough. The little kitten revealed a grateful look. Then, it limped into the forest and disappeared. Muyu felt his consciousness tremble. He had already left the array tablet and returned to his body. The array tablet was still intact. Muyu felt a little regretful. He thought that he might not have killed the little kitten, so it didn't count as passing the array tablet's test. However, he didn't care. He hadn't come here to pass the array tablet's test. Since he had this experience, it would be much easier to pass the array tablets test in the future. He had spent 2 days in the array tablet, but only a little more than an hour had passed outside. This was quite miraculous. Muyu left the advancement hall and flew back to his residence. What he didn't see was that not long after he left, a series of cracks suddenly appeared on the array tablet. Like a spider web, the cracks spread all over the array tablet. Then, the entire array tablet collapsed, shattering into pieces of stone. In the past 10 years, many culmination disciples had racked their brains trying to break these 3 array tablets and become a Xiantian disciple. However, not a single one of them had succeeded. Even if they were beaten to death, they would never have thought that the trash disciple, who was ridiculed by everyone, would be able to break one of the array tablets without anyone noticing. Chapter 383. Over the next few days, Muyu is still very busy with that damn foundational course for the Zhongtian disciples, pretending that he didn't understand anything. This foundational course had to be completed for at least a month before he was allowed to join the other Zhongtian disciples to learn more about spirit arrays, so he could only endure the boredom. The advancement hall was where the Zhongtian disciples gathered. Usually, unless something important happened, there were very few disciples who would go to the advancement hall. Everyone knew that the test of the spirit array tablets was too difficult, and it had been more than a decade since a Zhongtian disciple had broken a spirit array tablet to become a Xiantian disciple. As such, the matter of Muyu breaking the spirit array tablet had not been discovered by anyone. However, every single Zhongtian disciple was currently paying close attention to Luo Failong and Ji Wenkai's movements, especially Ji Wenkai. The last time, he had almost succeeded in breaking through the first array tablet. These past few days, all the Zhongtian disciples have been talking about him. Everyone was guessing that he would definitely try to break through to the advancement hall again. In fact, he might even become the first person in so many years to break through to the Xiantian realm. Of course, this first had to exclude Muyu first. On the 5th day after the spirit array tablet collapsed, Ji Wenkai and the other Zhongtian disciples once again gathered around him, wanting to try breaking the spirit array tablet again. These past 2 days, Ji Wenkai had received many benefits from Master Lu, but in his heart, he was still uncertain about breaking the spirit array tablet, although he had lasted longer than Luo Failong. But in truth, in order to appear stronger than Luo Failong, he had deliberately lied to Master Lu that he had grasped the key points. He knew that Master Lu attached great importance to this matter and would definitely not be stingy with his guidance, so he could not let go of this opportunity. As for whether he could succeed or not, that was another matter. At worst, he would talk about it when the time came. Master Lu had already given Ji Wenkai a lot of pointers in the past few days. Yesterday, Master Lu had encouraged Ji Wenkai to try to break the formation tablet again. Ji Wenkai was riding a tiger and couldn't get off. Thus, he came to the advancement hall with great momentum, ready to try again. Luo Failong also brought his own people to the advancement hall. He didn't come here to continue trying, but to check the situation. He was worried that Ji Wenkai would really break the array steel. If that happened, then he would really be suppressed by Ji Wenkai. At the entrance of the advancement hall, both sides were provoking each other again. The air was filled with the smell of gunpowder, and sparks flew from their gazes. Junior apprentice Brother Ji, what a grand formation. Could it be that you really have the confidence to break the formation tablet? Luo Failong asked with a fake smile. Although Ji Wenkai wasn't confident, he didn't want to show it in front of Luo Failong. He smiled and said, Senior apprentice Brother Luo, little brother has received a lot of pointers from Master Lu these past few days and has gained some insight into breaking formation tablets. Whether or not I succeed today is secondary. With Master Lu's help, success is only a matter of time. An imperceptible resentment flashed across Luo Failong's face. Master Lu was a Xiantian array master. To be able to receive Master Lu's guidance and cultivation was something that made people very jealous. This Ji Wenkai had stepped on dog shit luck. Then junior apprentice brother Ji must not fail to live up to Master Lu's hard work in nurturing him. Otherwise, Master Lu would have wasted Bao Yang's time. Luo Filong said in a strange tone. Ji Wenkai said, Senior apprentice brother Luo, don't worry. Master Lu is willing to guide me because he recognizes my ability. I'm not someone who looks down on even Master Lu. I can guarantee this. Luo Filong was furious. Their gazes once again intertwined with fervent passion. Then, they both snorted heavily and led their followers towards the advancement hall. However, the moment they raised their heads, everyone was stunned. In the starry sky, one of the 3 simple formation tablets had actually shattered. What? Luo Filong looked at the shattered formation tablet in disbelief. He turned his gaze to Ji Wenkai, but Ji Wenkai's face was also filled with shock. Clearly, this matter had nothing to do with him. Who broke the formation tablet? Was it Ji Wenkai? Looking at his shocked expression, it shouldn't be him. But it also isn't our senior apprentice brother Luo. Whether it was Luo Feilong's followers or Ji Wenkai's supporters, both sides were already whispering. They were all guessing which genius disciple had actually broken one of the formation tablets. This matter has nothing to do with you, right? Luo Filong looked at Ji Wenkai from the corner of his eyes. Ji Wenkai really wanted to take responsibility for this matter, but he was clear on one thing. After one formation tablet was broken, the other 2 formation tablets would automatically protect themselves. Besides the person who had broken the formation tablet, no one else would be able to get close to the formation tablets. This was to prevent people with bad intentions from taking the credit of others and using improper means to pass the test of the formation tablets. Therefore, even if Ji Wenkai wanted to admit it, he would immediately be exposed because he had no way of getting close to the remaining 2 formation tablets. That naturally has nothing to do with you. Ji Wenkai replied coldly. If it wasn't Luo Filong, and it wasn't Ji Wenkai, then who was it that had broken the first formation tablet? All the Zhongtian disciples were in an uproar. Since it was confirmed that Ji Wenkai and Luo Filong had nothing to do with this matter, then it meant that one of the Zhongtian disciples had secretly broken the formation tablet. This was an unprecedented matter. Does anyone know who broke the first formation tablet? Luo Filong turned his head and asked the crowd. Many people began to discuss intensely, hoping to find the person who had broken the first formation tablet. Was it you? I'd like to know. Could it be one of those neutral disciples? Not necessarily. There were over 300 Zhongtian disciples, and most of them had chosen a side with Ji Wenkai or Luo Filong. However, there were also 80 to 90 Zhongtian disciples who had not chosen a side. They were in a neutral position and were being ostracized by both sides. If it was not Luo Filong or Ji Wenkai who had broken the formation tablet, then it meant that a peerless genius had appeared among the ostracized disciples. Both Luo Filong and Ji Wenkai had ugly expressions on their faces. Most of the Zhongtian disciples who did not choose a side were looked down upon by the 2 of them. They were either like Mu Yu, who had been treated as trash by both sides and refused to be accepted, or some of the Zhongtian disciples who were unwilling to associate themselves with them. However, because the neutral disciples were ostracized, many of their cultivation resources would be taken away, so it was extremely difficult for a phoenix to fly out of the chicken coop. If there really was a Zhongtian disciple who was lucky enough to break a formation tablet, it would definitely affect Luo Filong and Ji Wenkai's status amongst the Zhongtian disciples. The 2 of them were unable to break a formation tablet, but there was someone who could. That meant that this person's talent far surpassed the 2 of them. If this person stood out to oppose Luo Filong and Ji Wenkai, it was likely that many people would turn to support this mysterious Zhongtian disciple. Luo Filong and Ji Wenkai exchanged a glance and saw a trace of ruthlessness in each other's eyes. If such a person really appeared, and they could not subdue him, they could only kill him. If this mysterious disciple who had broken the formation tablets consecutively broke through to become a Xiantian disciple, that would be fine. After all, a Xiantian disciple would not have the time to compete with a Zhongtian disciple. If he could only break one formation tablet, and not the other 2, he would still be a Zhongtian disciple. However, this identity was different. His potential far surpassed Luo Failong and Ji Wenkai, and he would definitely gain the support of many. It was enough for the two of them to rule the Zhongtian disciples. There was no need for a third party to interfere. At this moment, Luo Failong and Ji Wenkai actually thought of the same thing. For someone to break a formation tablet, this was something that had not happened in over a decade. The most recent time was 20 years ago, when a Zhongtian disciple successfully challenged the formation tablet and became a Xiantian disciple. Now, this person had become a Xiantian array master. That person's name was Ling Huarong, and she was the only female Xiantian array master, and was now the pillar of the array faction. But after her, no other Zhongtian disciple had ever succeeded. From this, it could be seen how difficult the test of the formation tablet was. The news that a nameless genius had broken one of the 3 formation steels quickly reached Master Lu's ears. Master Lu's face revealed an ecstatic expression. He immediately rushed to the advancement hall to check the formation steels and confirm whether the news was true or not. However, the formation tablet also excluded him, not allowing him to approach it. Good. My array faction will finally welcome another Xiantian disciple. Master Lu was extremely excited. He looked at Luo Failong and Ji Wenkai, and his gaze fell on Ji Wenkai as he asked anxiously, "Is it you, Ji Wenkai?" Ji Wenkai shook his head awkwardly, saying, replying to Master, "It's not this disciple." "Then it's you, Luo Failong?" Master Lu looked at Luo Failong. Luo Failong also shook his head, helplessly denying it. This matter could not be faked, because only the person who had broken the formation tablet could approach it. Others could not. Whether it was true or not could be determined in an instant, and he did not dare to falsely claim the credit. "It's not the two of you? Then who could it be?" Master Lu looked at the others. Of the hundreds of Zhongtian disciples present, not a single one stood out to admit it. Could it be that the person who broke the formation tablet is not here? Go, ring the Zhongtian disciples to gather, and have all of them come to the advancement hall. Master Lu immediately gave the order. The array faction had a huge ancient bell called the Blue Bell. Through the support of a spirit array, the sound of the bell could be heard throughout the entire faction. Different ways of ringing the bell meant different things. Ringing it 3 times in a row meant that the Houtian disciples were gathering. Ringing it 4 times in a row meant that the Zhongtian disciples were gathering. If the bell kept ringing, it meant that something big had happened in the array faction. At this moment, the melodious ringing of the bell had awakened many of the array faction disciples. Everyone was curious as to what was going on, but they soon found out that it was a gathering of Zhongtian disciples. Immediately after, countless Zhongtian disciples heard the ringing of the bell and immediately rushed to the advancement hall. Muyu was in the middle of asking Song Qingyu about his difficulties in cultivation when he suddenly heard the ringing of the bell. Feeling a little strange, he asked, "Zhong Shi, what is the meaning of this ringing bell?" Originally, he did not have any classes in the afternoon, but Song Qingyu had spent the past few days teaching Muyu the basics of cultivation. Because he had to go out to run some errands in 2 days, and could not find a suitable Zhongshi to replace him in teaching Muyu, so he could only take up Muyu's time in the afternoon to make up for the missed classes. He wanted to teach Muyu all the lessons he would miss in advance. Song Qingyu listened carefully for a while before saying, "Normally, when the Zhongtian disciples are going to hold a large-scale spirit array lecture, they will ring the bell to gather everyone. You must remember the frequency of this bell, and next time you must be present. However, with your current level, you don't need to go today, just focus on your cultivation." Muyu nodded and said honestly, "Oh, so it's like that. This disciple will remember." Chapter 384. All the Zhongtian disciples had gathered in the advancement hall, and some of the disciples who did not know what was going on began to ask about what had happened. When they heard that some unknown Zhongtian disciple had actually broken a formation tablet, they were all shocked and began to whisper to each other. So many Zhongtian disciples had gathered, but no one had noticed that a new disciple was missing. Master Lu's eyes swept over all the Zhongtan disciples present, and the excitement on his face was unprecedented. However, he still suppressed the excitement in his heart, cleared his throat, and said solemnly, "Everyone, today we have gathered all the Zhongtan disciples here for an important matter. This matter has not happened in our array faction for a full 20 years. I believe everyone has heard the news from their companions. That's right, after 20 years, there has finally been a new disciple who can break a formation tablet." The crowd once again broke out into discussion, obviously looking forward to seeing whom Master Lu was talking about. Many of the Zhongtian disciples who had just heard the news were stunned, while others were quite envious, craning their necks to see who this new disciple was. Luo Failong and Ji Wenkai were also looking forward to seeing who it was, but their expressions were definitely not one of anticipation, but one of coldness. The more Master Lu spoke, the more excited he became, and by the end of his speech, even his beard was sticking up as he continued. "Then which low-key Zhongtian disciple is it? You don't have to hide anymore. Come out and let everyone see your true face." As soon as Master Lu's words fell, all the Zhongtian disciples began to look around, wanting to see this low-key Zhongtian disciple. Luo Failong and Ji Wenkai were more curious than anyone else to know who this new disciple that they had overlooked was, hiding so deeply that even they had not noticed. However, all they could see was the heads of all the Zhongtian disciples turning back and forth, but no one raised their hand, and no one stepped forward. Now, the chatter began to die down, and the silence in the air was somewhat awkward. Master Lu's smile also froze for a moment before he said, "What's going on? No one wants to admit that they have passed the test of a formation tablet. This is something worth celebrating. There is nothing to be embarrassed about. Which Zhongtian disciple is it? Come out, there is no need to hold back." There was another moment of silence, and still no one stepped forward. The entire crowd was silent, everyone waiting to see which Zhongtian disciple was the genius that had been overlooked by them. At the same time, they were all making guesses in their hearts. Someone who was more outstanding than Luo Failong and Ji Wenkai. Would he really be so unknown? Master Lu waited for another quarter of an hour, but still no one stepped forward, and there was not even a single person who spoke. He finally lost his composure and said, "Which disciple is still so shy? You should know that there is only one Khanate disciple in our array faction. As long as you stand out, I will do my best to help you become the second Khanate disciple in our array faction." Another quarter of an hour. Still no one. Master Lu glanced at the jealousy hidden in Luo Failong and Ji Wenkai's eyes and said, "If you are afraid of revealing your identity or are worried about being envied by others, I can guarantee you that no one will dare to do anything bad to you." As the Xiantian array master of the array faction, Master Lu had heard quite a bit about how the Zhongtian disciples often formed cliques and factions, but because Luo Failong and Ji Wenkai were both extremely intelligent and had the highest comprehension of array Dao amongst all the Zhongtian disciples, he did not bother with them. He thought that this unknown genius was afraid of being envied by Luo Failong and Ji Wenkai, so he did not dare to reveal his identity. So he deliberately glared at Luo Failong and Ji Wenkai sternly. Luo Failong and Ji Wenkai did not dare to look at Master Lu, but they still kept their eyes on him. Another quarter of an hour passed, but still no one stepped forward. By now, many of the Zhongtian disciples were getting impatient. Being able to break a formation tablet was something to be envied, and it also meant that this person was about to become the second Zhongtian disciple of the array faction, and all the array Dao resources of the array faction would be given to him without reservation. If possible, everyone present would want to take this honor for themselves. Who is it? Acting like a big shot. Damn it, if I had the ability to break a formation tablet, I would have stood up long ago. That's right. This is an honor that everyone wants, but he's acting like a shy girl. It's really annoying. Some of the Zhongtian disciples had already begun to whisper amongst themselves. Becoming a Xiantian disciple was 10 times better than becoming a Zhongtian disciple, and their future was bound to be glorious. A Xiantian disciple was the same as all other Xiantian array masters, and would eventually become the backbone of the array faction. Such an honor that all Zhongtian disciples yearned for. Yet no one wanted to claim it? Damn it, don't give it to me. That was the thought in everyone's mind. Unfortunately, this honor was not something that could be casually given away. Master Lu was already starting to get anxious. The array Dao competition would be held in half a year, and their array faction had not been able to gather enough Xiantian disciples to compete with the Seal faction's Xiantian disciples. They had long become the laughingstock of the Seal faction. Every time they went out and met a symbol master from the Seal faction, the array faction disciples would not be able to raise their heads, feeling that it was a humiliation. Now that there was finally a Zhongtian disciple who had the potential to become a Xiantian, this was a huge matter that shook the entire array faction. Once this mysterious Zhongtian disciple stepped forward, the array faction would definitely do their best to nurture him into a qualified Xiantian disciple and bring glory to the array faction in the future array Dao competition. Even if they did not expect him to be able to defeat the Seal faction this year, since there was a new Xiantian disciple, as long as this mysterious disciple was given enough time to learn and grow, he would definitely become one of the pillars of the array faction in the future. How about this? If you're a shy boy or girl, then I won't force you. The Advancement Hall's array steel will still be placed here, and apart from you, no one else will be able to approach it. You can continue to think of ways to break the remaining 2 array steels, and if you encounter any difficulties, you can come down to my residence in private, and I will definitely help you. If you don't want to show off, I can also not let others know your identity. You just need to tell us a few Xiantian array masters how about it. Master Lu made a concession. He insisted that this was a Zhongtian disciple who was humble and had good morals and was unwilling to let others know about his talent. This would instead make Master Lu admire him even more. After all, there were not many young people who could not be tempted by fame and fortune these days. Under Master Lu's gaze, everyone began to leave. Master Lu had been glancing at the people leaving the field, trying to catch 1 or 2 of them with abnormal behavior to see if they were the low-key and humble young man with 3 virtues for virtues and 5 virtues. Unfortunately, he couldn't see anything. Of course, he could not see anything because our humble youth with 3 virtues for virtues and 5 virtues was currently learning array formations from Song Qingyu. Master Song, if the camp position of the 8 trigrams is missing a horizontal line, and the lead position is missing 2 horizontal lines, what will happen? Muyu raised his hand and asked diligently and eagerly. The 8 trigrams has very strict requirements for the orientation. If there is 1 less horizontal line drawn, the entire array formation will be abnormal. I'll explain it to you like this. Song Qingyu began to talk nonstop. Muyu secretly yawned. Where there was 1 less horizontal line drawn, where there was 1 more horizontal line drawn, what would happen, he already knew in his heart. But he had to pretend that he did not know anything. This was in line with what a new disciple should be like. When Muyu returned to his residence, Chengzhua had already come over and asked with a smile of exultation, "Who do you think that person is?" "What person?" Muyu casually asked. He did not know what Chengzhua was talking about. "Forget it. You've just arrived and are not familiar with everyone. There's no point in asking. I really did not expect that there would be a Zhongtian disciple who passed the test of the array tablet. This matter has already caused a huge commotion in the array faction outside. Everyone is looking for that person. It's a pity that this person is so low-key. If it was me, I would have long gone up on stage to receive the award and be admired by tens of thousands of people. That nameless genius can really hold himself back. His temperament is really admirable." Chengzhua did not see Muyu in the advancement hall in the afternoon. He thought that Muyu was also there in the afternoon, but there were too many people and he did not see him. He did not think that Muyu was the humble and mysterious youth with 3 virtues. After all, Muyu is now considered the oldest trash among all the Zhongtian disciples. Someone passed the test of the array tablet? Muyu yawned, then paused for a moment. He remembered that he had defeated the sixth-order demonic beast little cat in the test of the array tablet, but at that time, he did not see any signs of the array tablet breaking. Could it be that the array tablet broke after he left? Muyu rubbed his chin. Although he did not kill the sixth-order little cat, but strictly speaking, he still defeated it and should be considered to have passed the test of the array tablet. So the person that Changzhuo was talking about was most likely him. Just look at the scene in the afternoon, and you will know how exciting it was. Everyone wants to know who this mysterious disciple is, but unfortunately he did not come forward, making Master Lu very anxious. Changzhuo was very excited, his expression as if he was the one who broke the array tablet. Muyu smiled, too lazy to explain anything. He had been delayed by Song Qingyu in the afternoon, so he did not know the scene that Changzhuo described. In the next few days, Song Qingyu went out to handle some matters, so Muyu was much more relaxed. He had almost visited all the canyons in the array faction, and the matter of him breaking the array tablet had attracted the attention of all the Xiantian array masters. Even the sect leader was alarmed. Right now, the entire array faction was talking about this nameless genius. Everyone thought that they would soon find out who this low-key genius was. However, after 5 days, there was still no news of this matter. The Advancement Hall's formation tablet did not shatter again. That low-key young man suddenly disappeared without a trace. There was no news of him at all. Master Lu had long lost his calm. He had not left his residence during the day, afraid that the low-key and humble good youth would come to visit and he would not be there. And at night, when it was late at night, he would secretly hide in a dark corner of the Advancement Hall, observing if anyone came. He thought that this low-key and humble disciple would not dare to break the array tablet during the day, so he would definitely come secretly at night. But he had stayed up for 4 or 5 nights, and there was not even a shadow, let alone a shadow. Just who is it? Master Lu's heart was itching because of this low-key and humble good youth, but there was nothing he could do. It was like playing a game of cat and mouse, and an experienced old cat like him was unable to catch the cunning little mouse. Master Lu wanted to force every Zhongtian disciple to walk in front of the array tablet. As long as anyone could get close to the 2 remaining array tablets, it would mean that this person was the one who broke the array tablet. But Master Lu was not willing to do such a thing. He was worried that if that disciple had some difficulties, it would not be good if he did not want to show himself and chose to secretly leave the array faction. Muyu knew that everyone was talking about him, but he had just been recognized as a trash disciple, so no one suspected him. Chapter 385. Among the array faction's Zhongtian disciples, there was a genius who could break a formation tablet. This was a sensational matter for the array faction. However, different people had different reactions to this matter. The Xiantian array masters, led by Master Lu, could not wait to find out who this genius was. The other Zhongtian disciples were all envious and jealous of this genius, and there were even some who had ulterior motives. Luo Feilong and Ji Wenkai's positions in the Zhongtian disciples were threatened, so they began to secretly investigate who this low-key and humble genius was, and the targets of their investigation were naturally the Zhongtian disciples who did not take sides. One by one, the aloof Zhongtian disciples were investigated, and this naturally included Muyu. However, when they investigated Muyu, they saw Muyu's cultivation and age, and laughed at him before sending him away. A foundation establishment stage trash. Even if you beat them to death, they would not believe that he was this hidden genius. Muyu did not want to admit this matter, as admitting it would not do him any good, and would instead cause unnecessary trouble. His purpose in coming here was to learn some basic array techniques, and then to study the Xian formations that Deadwood Daddy had left behind. He had not come here to become famous. Ever since he had entered the third heaven continent, every time he went, he would cause an uproar. This time, he would just relax and be a hidden genius. Muyu had already learned the most basic array techniques, and could now learn intermediate array techniques with the other Zhongtian disciples. These array techniques were much more profound than the basic array techniques that Song Qingyu had taught him. Before, He only knew how to understand array techniques, but did not know how to arrange array techniques. So what he was going to learn next was extremely important to Mu Yu. Mu Yu's understanding of array techniques was very deep, and he could learn many complex array techniques in one go, much faster than the other Zhongtian disciples. The requirement for array techniques for Zhongtian disciples was to know how to change the position of the array base of certain array technique. For example, when Old Sun had used purple gold spirit stones to arrange array techniques, he had only needed to change the position of a few purple gold spirit stones to turn a spirit gathering array technique into a suppressing array technique that Mu Yu could not move. According to Mu Yu's estimation, Old Sun's array formation skills were at least at the level of a Zhongtian disciple. Changing formations was a very dangerous thing. For example, Mu Yu had learned a heaven culmination formation art called Boundless Light. This was considered very powerful among the heaven culmination formation arts. Activating this array formation could emit dazzling light cones. With the array formation as the center, the light cones could spread out to attack the enemy. Not only could it hurt the eyes of others, these light cones could also seriously injure cultivators of the same cultivation level. However, if the 8 trigrams of the Boundless Sunglow formation were missing a single rune, the target of the light cone would be directed to the center of the formation. At this time, if the array formation master was in the array formation, he would also be attacked by the light cone. If he was not careful, he might even injure himself. The Boundless Light formation could change the runes to attack the people outside or inside the array formation. Therefore, as a Zhongtian disciple, he had to remember who the target of the array formation was. If the enemy was outside the array formation, he had to release the array formation outside. If the enemy was inside the array formation, he had to release the array formation inside the array formation. He could not make a mistake, otherwise even he would be in trouble. Mu Yu was completely immersed in learning the Zhongtian array formation arts. Ever since he had seen Deadwood Daddy's array formation arts, he had studied the 8 trigrams in depth. He did not want to bury Deadwood Daddy's array formation arts. All array formation arts were based on the 8 trigrams. As long as one understood how the 8 trigrams worked, they would be able to infer the effects of other array formations. Therefore, learning the 8 trigrams was the most important thing. Most of the Zhongtian disciples' classes were taught by the experienced Zhongtian array masters. Master Lu would occasionally come out to teach everyone. For example, today he had once again called everyone to the advancement hall to teach the Zhongtian disciples. Very good. All the Zhongtian disciples are present? Ji Wenkai, do a head count. Master Lu cleared his throat and swept his gaze over everyone. Ji Wenkai stood in place, and runes appeared under his feet, gradually forming a huge 8 trigrams. In an instant, it covered all the Zhongtian disciples present, and then the 8 trigrams disappeared. Ji Wenkai replied respectfully. Replying to Master Lu, there are a total of 340 Zhongtian disciples present. There are 45 disciples who are not present. They should be out on a mission. The array formation Ji Wenkai used was a detection array formation and was classified as a Zhongtian array formation art. It could clearly count the number of people who came into contact with his 8 trigrams. The array formation masters often set up protective array formations for various sects and factions in the cultivation world. Zhongtian disciples often needed to follow Zhongtian array masters or Xiantian array masters out to gain experience. Mu Yu had not yet been given the opportunity to go out and gain experience, so he was also present. Good. Give me a list of the 45 Zhongtian disciples. When they return, tell them to come find me. I will compensate them for today's lessons. Master Lu nodded. Master Lu was actually doing this for the sake of the low-key genius who did not want to show his face. He was afraid that he would miss out on something. In order to cultivate this genius, he was really going all out. Today I will be explaining the array formation called Flexible Swallow Returns to Nest. This is a very strong array formation and is very difficult to master. You must listen carefully and try to learn this array formation. Master Lu paused for a moment, then continued. Flexible swallow returns to nest is a detection array formation. It is used to detect the weak points of the opponent. We all know that in a battle between cultivators, there is no such thing as a perfect and flawless attack. Every attack must have at least one weak point. As long as we can find this weak point, then we can defeat our opponent. Why is it said that we array masters are stronger than cultivators of the same cultivation level? Because we have many array formations that are very targeted in battle. Flexible swallow returns to nest is such a powerful array formation. As long as this array formation is successfully used on the opponent, then every time the opponent makes a move, their weak point will be exposed. I need to find someone to demonstrate it. Ji Wenkai, help me. Yes. Ji Wenkai respectfully walked out. Master Lu stood with his hands behind his back. He did not seem to make any movements. Suddenly, a blue 8 trigrams array pattern spread out with him as the center. This 8 trigrams array pattern was under his feet. Its range of effect was not large, only about 1 meter in diameter. However, a vortex appeared in the 8 trigrams array pattern. Then, 5 blue swallows flashed out of the array pattern vortex and quickly shuttled around Master Lu's body. Master Lu stretched out a hand and pointed at Ji Wenkai. Then, the 5 blue swallows quickly rushed towards Ji Wenkai. Ji Wenkai was hesitating whether to resist or not, but the speed of the blue swallows completely exceeded his reaction ability. Before he could move, the blue swallows had already merged into his body and disappeared. Ji Wenkai looked at Master Lu in puzzlement. The blue swallows that Master Lu created with the array formation did not seem to have any effect on him. You can attack me now. You can attack me however you want. Master Lu motioned to Ji Wenkai. Ji Wenkai hesitated for a moment, then cupped his hands and said, Master Lu, please excuse me. He leaped up, and an array pattern flashed from his body, wrapping around his fist. His fist was like a tiger, and it seemed to have the strength of 1,000 caddies. With an explosive sound, he leaped up and punched directly at Lu Xianshi. Everyone saw a blue light spot suddenly appear on Ji Wenkai's shoulder. Master Lu directly stretched out his hand and pointed at the blue light spot. Ji Wenkai's expression changed greatly. The originally domineering punch suddenly dissipated, and the array pattern wrapped around his fist also disappeared. He directly fell to the ground. Master Lu waved his sleeve, and a mellow spirit power wrapped around Ji Wenkai, helping him up. Then, he said, everyone should have seen some clues, right? After Ji Wenkai was hit by my nimble swallow returns to nest, every time he attacks, his weakness will be exposed. He was hit by 5 nimble swallows, which means that the weak points of his next 5 moves will be exposed by my array pattern. I only need to attack his weak point, and he will have no room to fight back. What a powerful array technique. Muyu was amazed. Master Lu's nimble swallow returns to nest left an extremely deep impression on him. He didn't expect that the array technique could be used like this. In the process of fighting, each move launched by a cultivator would have a different way of condensing the spirit power of the whole body. Just like how Ji Wenkai used the array pattern to wrap his fist to attack Master Lu, then his whole body spirit power would condense on his shoulder. As long as Ji Wenkai's shoulder was hit, his condensed spirit power would scatter, and Ji Wenkai would not be able to use this move. Generally speaking, unless one had a very thorough understanding of the enemy's moves, it was basically impossible to find the weak point of each move of the enemy in a battle. However, using the nimble swallow returns to nest array technique could actually directly expose the opponent's weak point. It was really terrifying. Array masters had a high explosive power among cultivators of the same level, and it was not an undeserved reputation. Take the nimble swallow returns to nest array technique, for example. The person hit by the array technique would expose their weak point. As long as one specifically attacked this weak point by surprise, the opponent would have no room to fight back. Everyone's face revealed a look of surprise and expectation. They couldn't wait to master this move. Master Lu looked at everyone's expression and said, the nimble swallow returns to nest seems very powerful, but in fact, it also has its limitations. First of all, it has to ensure that the opponent will definitely be hit by this array technique. This is the premise. Second, any powerful array technique requires the support of spirit power and spirit energy. If you don't have enough spirit power and spirit energy, then even if this array technique hits the opponent, it won't work. This array technique is quite complicated, but the main points are all here. You can now meditate on it and see if you can comprehend the essence of this array technique. The array pattern in Master Lu's hand surged again, and a mysterious and complex 8 trigrams array appeared in the air. It was densely intertwined with countless spirit pattern lines, and there were also some places to pay attention to when carving the array pattern. The main points were written. There were a total of 672 spirit pattern lines. When driving the array technique, one needed to simultaneously switch the spirit power from the Kan and Li positions of the 8 trigrams array to the Jin position, and then change the spirit pattern lines of the Zhe and Dui positions to the Jin position. The spirit pattern that controlled the speed was the Sun position. The more spirit power input from the Sun position, the faster the nimble swallow's speed. The Qian position controlled the number of nimble swallows, trying not to have too many. The more the number of nimble swallows, the more spirit power would be consumed. The densely packed main points were no less than 5,000 words in total. All the Zhongtian disciples were stunned. The complexity of this array technique was far beyond their imagination. First of all, they were shocked by the 672 lines of spiritual inscriptions. They had never learned a formation with more than 300 lines of spiritual inscriptions among the formations they had learned in the past. In order to use this formation, they needed to switch the inscriptions, graph the inscriptions, and other complicated operations, which were not something they could do. This was the most basic of array formations. Even Hotian disciples would not be able to learn more than 100 lines of array formations, and culmination disciples would only learn 300 lines of array formations at most. Array formations with more than 300 lines of array formations, needless to say, were considered Xiantian array formations. A year ago, Master Lu's profound night splendor Xiantian array technique only had 309 spirit pattern lines. But today, it has actually increased to 672 spirit pattern lines. Just what is he trying to do? Chengzhu's mouth was wide open. Just like everyone else, he was extremely shocked by this array technique. A year ago, Master Lu had inadvertently taught the simplest Xiantian array technique, the profound night splendor. It was a type of array technique that could be used to conceal oneself in the night, but not a single Zhongtian disciple present had managed to learn it. From then on, he had never taught a Xiantian array technique with more than 3 times the number of spirit pattern lines. No one had expected that today he would teach them 672 spirit pattern lines. This really gave everyone a shock. Chapter 386. Back then, the 9 Heavens Sealing Demon Array had taken 3 array formation grandmasters to engrave, and it had taken them more than a day to engrave at least 10 million spirit pattern lines. It was much more complicated than this agile swallow returning to nest array. The 9 Heavens Sealing Demon Array was perhaps one of the most complicated array formations in existence. Master Lu had everyone start to figure out this array formation, and no one dared to neglect it. Even if they couldn't fully comprehend it, they had to at least pretend to understand it. Moreover, there were many Xiantian array formations that these disciples had no access to. They knew they couldn't learn them, so they were very excited to occasionally see 1 or 2 Xiantian array formations. Of course, Master Lu didn't take out this Xiantian array formation for no reason. His ultimate goal was still that mysterious genius. That genius hadn't dared to show up for so many days. So he planned to teach this Xiantian array formation to all the disciples and then secretly observe how each of them learned it. As long as someone could master even a little bit of this array formation, then, without a doubt, that person must be that shy genius disciple. Array formations were divided into fixed array formations and shifting array formations. Fixed array formations referred to finding a suitable terrain and using the terrain's advantages to arrange an array formation. Once an array formation was set up, it couldn't be moved at will. For example, the 10,000 Zhang multicolored light was a fixed array formation. There were also other sect protecting arrays, spirit gathering arrays, array gates used to test new disciples, and the Advancement Hall's Starry Sky array formation were all fixed array formations. Shifting array formations referred to array formations that could be carried around and used at any time. It was similar to when Deadwood Daddy used the Blood Jade Black Crystal to fuse with the 7th Order Explosive Core to almost kill Tian Bushi, and when Ji Wenkai used the Scouting Array Formation. Master Lu's Agile Swallow returning to Nest was a shifting array formation. Shifting array formations required an array formation base, and every array formation master would find several good array formations to refine for their own use. All array formations that could be used at any time were actually engraved on the array formations that were rich in spirit chi. When used, they could be directly driven by spirit chi. Muyu carefully looked at the complex array pattern. In the eyes of others, the spirit pattern engravings looked complicated and messy, but he could easily understand them. All formations were based on the 8 trigrams. As long as one grasped this rule, they would be able to figure out the principles of each line. Combined with the key points given by Master Lu, Muyu spent less than an hour to roughly memorize the Agile Swallow returning to its nest. However, he was not in a hurry to inscribe this spirit array onto his own array base. He knew that Master Lu's eyes were currently fixed on all the Zhongtian disciples, trying to find someone who was acting strangely, and from there, determine who that mysterious genius was. Since he didn't plan to expose himself, it was better to be cautious. He would first memorize this formation and then secretly find a place where no one was around to try it out. The morning class quickly passed by, but to Master Lu's disappointment, he did not see a single Zhongtian disciple who was behaving abnormally. However, his eyes quickly lit up, and at the same time he felt a little smug. Because if none of the Zhongtian disciples present had any understanding of the spirit array, then it was very likely that the mysterious genius was one of the 45 disciples who had gone out on this mission. First, I'll narrow down the area before pulling in the net. I don't believe that I can't find you. Master Lu was secretly proud of his own plan. Little did he know that his plan had long been seen through by Muyu. In truth, Master Lu's strength and cultivation were much higher than Muyu's. Normally, he was a very steady master. However, the appearance of a Zhongtian disciple with the potential to break through to the Xiantian realm caused him to be overjoyed. This was extremely important to the future of the Array faction, and he had no choice but to pay attention to it. After class, Muyu quickly left the advancement hall, looking for a secluded place to practice the Agile Swallow returning to its nest. As for Master Lu, he anxiously looked for Ji Wenkai to ask for a list of the absent Zhongtian disciples. As for the other Zhongtian disciples, they did not fully understand the spirit array. As long as there was a single line in a spirit array, they would not be able to understand its meaning. Then, the entire process of using the spirit array would have problems. The key point was that they did not understand just one line, but hundreds. The array faction was large and had many mountain ranges, so it was not difficult for Muyu to find a secluded place. He flashed into a forest and used spirit stones to create a simple illusion and alarm array, camouflaging himself. He began to recall the key points of the Agile Swallow returning to its nest in his mind. This was the first time he had drawn this spirit array, so he chose to directly draw it on the ground. The process of drawing the spirit array took a lot of time for Muyu. He did not have a photographic memory. That kind of thing was simply too mysterious. However, he had grasped how each line of the spirit array worked, so he was able to completely draw out the Agile Swallow returning to its nest. It took him 2 hours to completely draw out all the spirit array lines. He also used his memory and deductions to correct a few of the wrong lines. During this process, he had to ensure that his body had sufficient spirit chi to maintain the flow of spirit chi throughout the entire spirit array. The next step was to lay down the spirit array's foundation. The spirit array's foundation was used to provide spirit chi support to the spirit array and was an essential step for spirit arrays. The most common spirit array's foundation was spirit stones, and Muyu had a lot of spirit stones. However, after he placed more than 100 spirit stones on the spirit array, he was just about to activate the spirit array when he realized that the agile swallow returning to its nest had just flashed with light, and there was no movement at all. What went wrong? Did I draw the spirit array lines wrongly? Muyu calculated the 672 spirit array lines. He understood the function of each line and the coordination between them, and he found that there was no problem. He turned his attention to the spirit array's foundation, and he was surprised to find that the 100 spirit stones had unknowingly turned into a pile of useless stones. The agile swallow returning to its nest had just flashed, and more than 100 spirit stone spirit chi had been used up. Muyu secretly clicked his tongue. The 100 spirit stones did not have any effect, and it had already been used as a sacrifice to the heavens. It was really fast. This time, he directly used 10,000 spirit stones, and he thought that 10,000 spirit stones should be enough. However, he did not know whether to laugh or cry. The 10,000 spirit stones maintained the spirit array for 2 breaths, and then the entire spirit array returned to normal. Becoming an array master is really a money-burning profession. Muyu muttered. Obviously, Master Lu did not tell him that if he wanted the agile swallow returning to its nest to work, ordinary spirit stones would not work. Muyu also had some Hotian array foundations and central array foundations on him. Hotian array foundations were similar to spirit stones, so he did not need to consider them. The spirit chi of central array foundations was probably not much better. Since the agile swallow returning to its nest was a Xiantian array technique, then naturally he would use Xiantian array foundations. Muyu rummaged through the Chinquin bag that Deadwood Daddy had left for him and found more than 100 Xiantian array foundations. He did not expect that as soon as he took out the Xiantian array foundations, Xiao Shuai would happily open his mouth and try to bite it, but Muyu slapped him away. You even eat Xiantian array foundations? Tell me, is there anything else you don't eat? Muyu scolded. Xiao Shuai looked at the Xiantian array foundations in Muyu's hand and miserably said, "The taste of Xiantian array foundations is several times better than demon spirits. I can't help it." If you can't help it, then go eat sh*t. Dragon Tongue said from the side. Bah, I'm not going to eat you, Xiao Shuai angrily replied. Muyu was too lazy to pay attention to Xiao Shuai and directly used the Xiantian array foundations to activate the agile swallow returning to its nest. This time, the array finally flashed with a unique light, but the light was actually black and white, completely different from Master Lu's blue light. Muyu immediately learned from Master Lu and mobilized 5 agile swallows. These agile swallows were really black and white, and they danced around Muyu. However, whether it was the momentum or speed, they were much slower than Master Lu's agile swallows. Dragon Tongue, hurry up and come out. I'll use you as an experiment. Muyu commanded the agile swallows, and couldn't wait to try it out on Dragon Tongue. Dragon Tongue unwillingly flew out and instantly grew bigger. Muyu didn't say anything and commanded his agile swallows to attack Dragon Tongue, but Dragon Tongue nimbly dodged them. Hey, why are you running so fast? Muyu helplessly said. Your agile swallows are so slow. If I were to be hit by something so slow, wouldn't that be very embarrassing? Dragon Tongue snorted. Muyu was a little embarrassed. The agile swallows that he transformed into were indeed several times slower than Master Lu. However, after much persuasion, he finally convinced Dragon Tongue to take the initiative to be hit by the array. After that, he immediately felt the spiritual energy in his body being rapidly sucked away by the array. Try attacking me. Muyu was eager to give a try. Dragon Tongue didn't say anything else, and directly opened its mouth to spit out a green dragon breath, chopping towards Muyu. Then, Dragon Tongue's tail lit up with a black and white light, indicating that when Dragon Tongue gathered spiritual energy, the convergence point was located on its tail. "Hey, big earthworm, why's your weak point on your butt?" Little Shuai shouted in surprise. "When you use dragon breath, don't tell me you spit out a fart from your mouth." "Ha ha!" Little Shuai was convulsing with laughter, and Muyu also couldn't help but laugh. Dragon Tongue was furious. The dragon breath that was originally rushing towards Muyu in the air actually turned and rushed towards Little Shuai. Little Shuai was still laughing when he was suddenly hit by the green dragon breath and fiercely smashed a Little Shuai-shaped pit on the ground. "Big earthworm, I'll fight it out with you." Little Shuai angrily roared from the ground. Muyu didn't attack Dragon Tongue's weak point. As long as Dragon Tongue's weak point appeared, it meant that the array had begun to work. An agile swallow could show the opponent's weak point. If he wanted to use this array to deal with others in the future, he had to at least ensure that the agile swallow could hit one person. His agile swallow's speed wasn't fast enough. No matter how much spiritual power he injected into the Sun position, the agile swallow's speed still couldn't increase. Following that, Muyu realized that when he was controlling this array, he couldn't coordinate the degree of spiritual power control between the various lines of spiritual power. This was the reason why the agile swallow he summoned wasn't agile enough. Clearly, to completely master this array, he needed more practice. Following that, Muyu casually summoned dozens of agile swallows, and they danced in the air. He wanted to master this array more skillfully, but before he could do it, the array beneath his feet collapsed again. What the hell? Muyu looked at the innate array foundation. It was originally a piece of black but he didn't know when it had turned into an ordinary stone. The spiritual power was used up. Damn, I only used the innate array foundation 10 times, and the spiritual power was used up? Muyu was shocked. No wonder it was said that array masters were weak. When they used array techniques, they had to consider the consumption of the array foundation's spiritual power. Once the array foundation's spiritual power couldn't keep up, all array techniques would be finished. Although the innate array foundation's spiritual power is more than the Zhongtian array foundation, your array technique consumes too much spiritual power. You can't use it casually, unless you can find the rare array foundation that Deadwood Daddy used, the purple light extreme jade and the blood jade in crystal. The spiritual power contained in these two array foundations really makes me drool. Little Shuai drooled. Forget about the blood jade ink crystal. Muyu shook his head. He wouldn't use the blood jade ink crystal. Deadwood Daddy's soul was still in it. Although Little Shuai was delicious, he wouldn't have any ideas about the blood jade ink crystal. However, if he didn't have enough innate array foundation, he wouldn't be able to practice more profound array techniques. This would be difficult. Chapter 387. Generally speaking, the spiritual chi of a Xiantian array foundation was enough to sustain a Xiantian array technique for several times. For an array master, whoever had a good foundation in their hands would be able to fight for a longer period of time. Although the array masters of the array faction usually went out to set up arrays for others, sometimes they would have conflicts with other cultivators, so learning the necessary offensive array techniques was very important. Muyu had just carved the nimble swallow returns to nest on the ground, not on the foundation, so he couldn't carry the array around with him. If he wanted to reach the level of Master Lu, where he could use array techniques at any time, he would need to carve the nimble swallow returns to nest on the foundation. He had already learned how to carve the Zhong Tian array technique on the Zhong Tian array foundation and had never failed. But when carving the Xiantian array technique, he encountered a problem. The foundation was too small, so it was much more difficult to carve such a complicated array. The Hodian array technique and Zhongtian array technique didn't have many spiritual chi carvings, so they could shrink the entire array and carve it on the foundation. But the Xiantian array technique had too many spiritual chi carvings. The more spiritual chi carvings there were, the more mistakes one would make when carving in a small space. Muyu had tried dozens of times, but all of them failed without exception. He couldn't understand why Master Lu was able to carve the Xiantian array technique on the foundation to the extent that he could use it at any time. Obviously, there must be a special method to carve the Xiantian array technique on the foundation, but Master Lu didn't say it out loud. Master Lu had indeed left such a trick up his sleeve. He was thinking that the genius would definitely not be able to do it, so when the time came and he wanted to learn the Xiantian array technique, he would obediently come to him. What made Master Lu regretful was that he couldn't find the mysterious genius among the 45 people who had returned from the mission. This made him extremely disappointed. He didn't expect this low-key youth to be so calm. I don't believe you can solve the problem of fusing the Xiantian array technique and the Xiantian array foundation. Even if you can figure out, without the help of the Xiantian array foundation, how will you practice the Xiantian array technique? I like to see which one of us will lose his cool first. In order to find this mysterious genius, it could be said that Master Lu was extremely anxious. The Xiantian array technique required a Xiantian array foundation as the foundation to practice, but the spirit qi of the Zhongtian array foundation was not enough to satisfy the needs of the Xiantian array techniques, and the Zhongtian disciples did not have that many Xiantian array foundations to practice the Xiantian array techniques. So he firmly believed that this mysterious genius would definitely come to him for a Xiantian array foundation. However, Muyi still did not want to look for Master Lu. He felt that he did not need to learn the Xiantian array techniques for the time being. He only needed to learn the Zhongtian array techniques well. In the end, it was the upright Master Lu who couldn't keep his cool. It had already been a month since the incident with the array tablet, and Master Lu had long since been unable to hold himself back. Yet he still had not been able to catch the Zhongtian disciple who had broken the array tablet, causing him to be extremely anxious. He repeatedly gathered the disciples of Culmination Heaven Sect and earnestly advised them about the development of the Formation Sect, the decline of the sect, and the future. He also spoke bitterly about how the Talisman sect bullied them, stole their business in the cultivation world, and so on. He was so heartbroken that he almost shed tears. Just last month, the $1 million trading company stopped cooperating with our Formation sect. Everything, including the maintenance of the floating immortal islands floating array, the various protective arrays of the buildings, and the communication arrays between different trading companies, were all snatched away by the Talisman sect. The people of the $1 million trading company said that the tracking array we invented was inferior to the Talisman sect's tracking talisman, causing the $1 million trading company to lose a big business. We sent people to negotiate, but in the end, they were wantonly humiliated by the people of the Talisman sect. We wanted to save face in front of the people of the $1 million trading company, but the people of the Talisman sect were already prepared. Our formation Dao lost to the Talisman Dao once again. How can you tolerate this? Master Lu was furious at the thought of this matter. We can't. The emotions of all the Zhongtian disciples were stirred up. They were all furious at the arrogant behavior of the Talisman sect. The $1 million trading company was a big business and was a core customer of the Formation sect. If this customer was snatched away by the Talisman sect, then it would be a huge blow to the income of the Formation sect. Master Lu, our cooperation with the $1 million trading company has always been very harmonious. What exactly went wrong that caused the $1 million trading company to lose money? Luo Filong asked. Master Lu hesitated for a moment, as if he was thinking about whether to say it or not. Then, as if he had made up his mind about something, he said, Originally, it was our mission to keep the secrets of our customers a secret. This matter should not be mentioned. However, everyone here is an elite of the Formation sect, so it is not a violation of the confidentiality agreement. Moreover, this is also a reminder to all of you that there is always someone better than you. Everyone listened attentively. They had been curious about what had caused the $1 million trading company to lose a big business, causing them to lose one of their most important customers. Master Lu paused for a moment before he continued. When the Supreme Immortal ranking was released, our Formation sect was invited by the $1 million trading company to create a batch of green jade. This batch of green jade is called the Supreme Immortal Record. It contains detailed information about every person on the Supreme Immortal ranking. However, the boss of the $1 million trading company asked us to do something to this batch of Supreme Immortal records. At the time, I was in charge of the production of this batch of green jade. I created a formation within a formation that could be used to track the people who had the Supreme Immortal records. The $1 million trading company sold this batch of Supreme Immortal records to the Supreme Immortal to earn Spirit Stones. But at the same time, the location of the Supreme Immortal who had the green jade would be exposed to the $1 million trading company. This meant that the Supreme Immortal who had bought the green jade would be under the control of the $1 million trading company, which would allow them to earn even more profits. Muyu's heart skipped a beat. He had received a piece of green jade from Huaibei. This piece of green jade had recorded information about almost all the Supreme Immortals. However, at the time, Deadwood Daddy had seen through the formation within the green jade at a glance. He had discovered that this piece of green jade could expose his whereabouts to the $1 million trading company. At the time, Muyu had also played a trick and fed this piece of green jade to a demonic beast. This way, the people of the $1 million trading company would think that Muyu had been in the setting sun forest all this time. Has this formation within a formation been seen through by someone? Ji Wenkai asked in surprise. Master Lu's formation within a formation was famous for its ingenuity. Even other Xiantian formation masters would rarely be able to detect the formation within a formation set up by Master Lu. Ordinary Supreme Immortals might be very powerful, but they definitely wouldn't be able to see through the formation within a formation. What was going on? Master Lu sighed and said, "That's right. It was seen through by a Supreme Immortal. However, the $1 million trading company didn't tell me which Supreme Immortal it was. I've been wondering which Supreme Immortal could have such high-level formation skills. Mu Qinghong is the only Supreme Immortal in our formation faction, but the Talisman faction has 3 Supreme Immortals. However, I don't think that even the Talisman faction would be able to detect my formation within a formation. After pondering for a long time, I thought of someone. Luo Filong hurriedly asked. Not only him, but all the culmination disciples were very curious. Which Supreme Immortal was so proficient in formations that he could detect the formation within a formation that even the culmination disciples of the formation faction couldn't? True God Sword Shadow Chun Feng and Poison King Deadwood Evergreen's disciple, Muyu. Muyu, heavens! It's him? Everyone exclaimed. Everyone had more or less heard of this legendary young man. Not to mention how he had caused havoc on the floating immortal island, and how he had released the Demon King. Just the fact that he was Sword Shadow Chan Feng's disciple was enough to make him famous. Muyu rubbed his nose and realized that everyone around him was talking about him. He was standing in the middle of these people, which made him feel a little embarrassed. He thought that Master Lu was a very smart person. He actually thought of him. Deadwood Evergreen and Sword Shadow Chan Feng's formation skills are said to be on par with our founder, the Heavenly Formation Dao. Naturally, Deadwood Evergreen's formation skills aren't inferior to our founder, the Heavenly Formation Dao. I want to ask Huai Million for confirmation. Although he was evasive, I'm pretty sure that we were negligent in this business deal. However, this isn't the main point. The main point is that the Talisman faction has invented a talisman technique that is on par with the green jade I created. Even I couldn't detect this talisman technique. That's right, although I don't want to admit it, I was indeed defeated. Huai Million Trading Company chose the Talisman faction and no longer cooperated with the Array Masters of our Array faction because of this talisman technique. This talisman technique can make their business safer. Master Lu's face revealed an extremely ashamed expression. He didn't try to cover up his failure. On the contrary, he faced it very calmly and even told all the Zhongtian disciples about this matter, sounding the alarm for everyone. I'm telling you this because I want you to know that the Talisman faction's strength is gradually surpassing ours. If our Array faction doesn't work hard, I'm afraid we will decline. Right now, what the Array faction lacks is talent. No matter which one of you has broken the formation tablet, I hope that you can stand up. As a member of the Array faction, we have to fight for the future of the Array faction. We need you to stand up and shoulder the heavy responsibility. If we lose again in this year's talisman competition, we won't be able to raise our heads. As long as you stand up, I will do my best to teach you everything I know. Our array faction can't lose again. Master Lu's eyes were brimming with tears when he spoke of this. He was a very responsible Xiantian array master and always thought about the future of the array faction. However, he couldn't do anything about the decline of the array faction. There were very few Xiantian disciples. This was a fact that couldn't be changed. However, there was a Zhongtian disciple who could become a Xiantian disciple who was hiding it. This made him feel very sad. He didn't want a piece of unpolished jade to be buried. Master Lu's reasoning and emotional speech almost stirred up Mu Yu's emotions. He even wanted to come out and admit it. When he realized that the business of the Array faction and Huai Million Trading Company had problems because of him, he felt a trace of guilt. However, when he thought about how the Extreme Immortal record, which leaked information about the Extreme Immortal, was actually done by Master Lu, he couldn't feel guilty. After all, if Deadwood Daddy hadn't been there at that time, he might have kept that piece of green jade, and his whereabouts would have been known by the Huai Million Trading Company. Just thinking about it was a very scary thing. But then again, the Huai Million Trading Company was a big business and was also a big customer of the Array faction. If Master Lu had refused this deal, the Array faction's losses would have been even greater. For the future of the Array faction, Master Lu could only go against his conscience and follow the Huai Million Trading Company's request to make this batch of green jade, earning a considerable amount of spirit stones so that the Array faction wouldn't suffer too much of a blow. All the Zhongtan disciples present were filled with righteous indignation, cursing the Array faction, but still no one stood up. Master Lu sighed. The disappointed expression on his face was clearly visible. He then said, "I hope that everyone can go back and reflect on their actions. Luo Filong, find a few Zhongtian disciples who will be going out with me. I need to go to the Stargate. Tomorrow is the routine maintenance of the Stargate Mountain Protecting Array. Every time the Hotian and Zhongtian array masters of the Array faction went out to solve array problems for other sects, they would bring their Hotian and Zhongtian disciples out for training. The Zhongtian disciples also had a rare opportunity, and that was to take turns going out with the array masters. Being able to go out with their master to set up array formations was the dream of many Zhongtian disciples. Stargate. The heavens wouldn't wait. Mu Yu felt like his heart had been ruthlessly grasped by someone, endless hatred surging from the bottom of his heart. He clenched his fists, his body trembling slightly. Chapter 388. This time, in addition to Mu Yu, there were 4 other disciples who were going out with Master Lu. Mu Yu didn't know any of the 4, but he still introduced himself one by one. One of the girls was about the same age as Mu Yu, but she had entered the sect 5 years earlier than Mu Yu. She was very beautiful, and her name was Ai Xiao. Just like her name, she was a girl who loved to smile, and her smile was especially bright. The other 3 were young men in their 20s, called Zhao Yanggong, Lu Yang, and Dingbo. When Mu Yu greeted these 4 people, except for Dingbo and Ai Xiao, who seemed to be more enthusiastic, the other 2 saw that Mu Yu was just an older disciple in the foundation establishment stage, so they put on an arrogant look. "What is your name? When did you enter the sect? You are so old. How can your cultivation be so low?" When Master Lu saw Mu Yu, he couldn't help but frown. Replying to Master, "Disciple's name is Feng Mu, and I have been in the sect for more than a month." Mu Yu said in a neither servile nor overbearing manner, "Just a month? How many trigrams have you passed?" Master Lu asked again. 4. Master Lu sighed in his heart. Every disciple was worthy of training, but with Mu Yu's age and cultivation, it would be difficult for him to go far in the future. But since he came to the Array faction, he would not treat him differently, saying, "Your aptitude is not outstanding among the disciples of the sect. In the future, you will have to cultivate diligently to catch up with the others." "Yes, disciple will remember," Mu Yu replied honestly. In his heart, he couldn't help but mutter, "Haven't you been looking for me for the past month?" With a wave of his hand, Master Lu wrapped Mu Yu and the others with his spiritual power and stepped into the void. Master Lu's cultivation was at least at the severed soul stage, and the Array faction Xiantian Array Masters were at least at the severed soul stage. In the beginning, the Array faction was one of the 9 factions, but it later split. But even so, the strength of the Array faction was unfathomable. The other Zhongtian disciples accompanying Mu Yu were all at the nascent soul stage. Considering their age, they could be considered quite impressive in the cultivation world. They were the same as the disciples of the Pill Cauldron sect. Their main strength lay not in their cultivation, but in other aspects. The disciples of the Danding sect were more like nerds without any fighting strength because they studied pills. However, the disciples of the Array faction were still stronger than the disciples of the Pill Cauldron sect. This was because they were able to use arrays in battle. Even if they couldn't defeat their opponents, they were more than capable of protecting themselves. When we arrive at the Stargate, all of you have to be alert. Many of the arrays in Stargate were designed by our Array faction. They're also one of our big clients, so we can't afford any mistakes. We still have to treat the people of Stargate with respect, understand? Mr. Lu said seriously. Respect the people of Stargate? Got it. Mu Yu stiffly squeezed out these 3 words. If he couldn't wait to destroy Stargate. How could he respect them? However, his current out-of-body strength was not worth mentioning in the eyes of the experts of Stargate. Perhaps his strength was outstanding among the younger generation, but in the eyes of the unfathomable Stargate, he was simply a joke. Mr. Lu seemed to have thought of something and said to Mu Yu, "Feng Mu, you will stay by my side. If someone asks why your strength is so low, just say that you are my Array guardian, understand?" This disciple understands. Mu Yu sighed. Most Xiantian Array Masters would accept a few Hotian disciples as their Array guardian. To put it bluntly, they were personal servants who specialized in serving the Array Master. Mr. Lu was afraid that bringing Mu Yu, who was only at the Foundation establishment stage, would make people think that the level of the disciples of the Array faction had dropped to this extent. Then, the Array faction's impression in the eyes of outsiders would be even worse. But if he said that he was an Array guardian, it would be much more reasonable, because an Array guardian didn't need any cultivation. If Mr. Lu knew that the genius disciple he had been looking for who broke the Array tablet was right beside him and treated him as an Array guardian, he was afraid that he would be so shocked that he would pull off his beard. Mr. Lu hurried. Stargate was very far away from the Array faction. Even with his spirit-severing stage cultivation, it took him half a day to arrive. Stargate was located in the Tianxing mountain range, which was full of spirit chi on the 3rd continent. Unlike other sects, Stargate was actually located on 7 huge floating mountains. Stargate was divided into 7 mountains. Each mountain seemed to have been cut off by someone, and then the upper half of the mountain was suspended in mid-air. The 7 mountains were arranged in the Big Dipper 7 stars array, and they were motionless. Even if there was a strong wind, the mountains would not sway. The mountain peaks were covered with dense vegetation, and white buildings were hidden among them. Occasionally, pure white eaves could be seen, and it was quite like a place of immortals. The 7 mountains of Stargate were created by our ancestor, Formation Tiandao. He used a great divine ability to cut off the 7 mountains, and then used the unique structure of the Tianxing mountain range to set up a suspended array, which created this unique work of art. Mr. Lu brought everyone to a stop in the distance. Looking at the 7 floating mountains from afar, it was really shocking. The 7 mountains were like hidden dragons coming out of their caves, about to spread their wings and soar. They were overbearing and heavy, as if they wanted to compete with the sky. Mu Yu had seen the floating immortal island, which was worth millions. At that time, he felt that it was already amazing that the floating immortal island could suspend the entire island in mid-air. He didn't expect that Stargate was even more luxurious. It actually directly lifted the 7 mountains into the air. Such a huge amount of money was really unparalleled in the world. It wasn't the first time for the others to come to Stargate. They had been here before when they were on duty, so they were very calm. Muyu forcefully suppressed the shock in his heart. As the future sect master of the Heavenly Star sect, Tian Bue had killed Deadwood. Thus, Muyu would definitely cause these 7 divine peaks to fall and avenge Deadwood. The array of each mountain needs to be maintained regularly. You all have to observe carefully how I maintain it later. The suspended array is quite ingenious, and the complexity of it is unimaginable. Only our ancestor could create such a shocking work of art. Mr. Lu's face was full of reverence when he talked about Formation Tiandao. Those who could set up such a shocking array were naturally geniuses among geniuses. Of course, we're not only here to maintain the suspended array, but also to check the defensive array of each building in Stargate, the anti-invasion array, the spirit gathering array, the meditation array, and so on. There are many places that you all have to check carefully to see if there are any loopholes and patch them up. Fengmu, you're new here, so you don't know anything. Follow me to the core of the suspended array and learn as much as you can. Mr. Lu naturally couldn't do everything himself with the Zhongtian disciples. Some of the simple arrays were handed over to the Zhongtian disciples, but the most important suspended array was done by him personally. The other disciples secretly laughed. They had been to the suspended array before, but unfortunately, with their abilities, it was like reading a heavenly book. They couldn't understand the operating principle of the suspended array at all. Asking a new disciple to learn the suspended array, wasn't this a joke? They stopped at the entrance of the Heavenly Starry Sect. The Heavenly Starry Sect had a special disciple to receive them. Obviously, they knew Master Lu and were very respectful to him. They led them into the Heavenly Starry Sect. The Stargate's Mountain Protection Array was actually designed by the Sect Master. It could be considered a perfect array without any flaws. It can withstand the attacks of crossing Calamity Stage cultivators. Even the Sect Master can't force his way in. The eye of the array is in the hands of the Stargate people. Like all the other mountain protection arrays, only those who are allowed to enter by the Stargate can enter. Mr. Lu said. These words were more for the newcomer Muyu to hear. The others already knew about it. Even crossing Calamity Stage, cultivators can't break in. Muyu thought of the Luochen Mountains Mountain Protection Array. It was a very heaven-defying array that could imitate the attack methods of the invaders without any mistakes. At that time, Jinren Zhouhua's magnificent sword attack was completely imitated by the Mountain Protection Array, and then a large number of Jindan Stage cultivators were killed. Muyu still remembered this incident. Can this Mountain Protection Array imitate the attack of an outsider? For example, if I slash at it, will also counterattack? Muyu asked aloud. Brad, are you stupid? How can there be such an ability? If there is such an array, wouldn't it be quite heaven-defying? You can set up an array around yourself and not be afraid of being beaten by others. Zhao Lianggong sneered. You're really a beginner. You're the most whimsical. Lu Yang also mocked. What's wrong with the two of you? Muyu has just arrived and naturally has some things he doesn't understand. When you're outside, you have to know how to help each other. If he doesn't understand, you should tell him instead of mocking him. Now that our array faction is suppressed by the Talisman faction, we should be united. Mr. Lu criticized seriously. Then, he said thoughtfully, actually, Muyu's idea is very good. It can be considered an innovation, although it's impossible to realize. An array that can be imitated is probably more difficult than a floating array because it requires one to quickly remember any move. This can only be done by the human brain. As far as I know, there is no array AI that can do this. When each of you is learning array, you can't limit yourself to the existing array. You have to know how to innovate so that you can go further in array DAO. What our array faction needs in the future is reform and innovation. Muyu was surprised. It turned out that this kind of array that could counterattack was actually so complicated. Master Lu said that it was impossible to realize, but his master had already created it long ago. The more he thought about it, the more regretful he felt. He clearly had two array masters as his masters. Feng Haochen chose not to teach array because of Spirit Lord Yu Ming in Muyu's body, but Muyu also didn't learn the essence of Ku Mu's profound array. In fact, there is no perfect array. Stargate's array still has a small flaw. On the night of the full moon every month, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth will fluctuate due to the influence of the moon. At that time, Stargate's mountain protection array will be interrupted for a short time. If you are fast enough, you can still sneak in. AI Zhao secretly said in Mu Yu's ear. AI Zhao's words didn't escape Mr. Lu's ears. He said seriously, the fewer people who know about this flaw, the better. As array masters, we can't tell the flaw of the array. Otherwise, how can people feel assured to let us set up the array for them? Mr. Lu, Feng Mu is also one of us. It's not against the rules to know, as long as we don't guarantee to leak it. AI Xiao and Mr. Lu's relationship seemed to be good, so she spoke freely. Master Lu shook his head helplessly and said, in fact, this is not a flaw. Even if you use this one breath to interrupt the infiltration, you will still be discovered by the people of the Heavenly Star sect after one breath. Before you can do anything, you will be captured, so this formation is still quite perfect. Chapter 389. Master Lu was doing his routine. After checking whether there was any problem with the Stargate's array, he would check every place once. If there was a problem, he would start to solve it. If there was no problem, he could leave. Stargate would pay the array faction a considerable amount of maintenance fees every year. As long as it passed through the Stargate's inspection, it would be guaranteed that this fee would enter the account. Stargate was a large sect. There were more than 10,000 arrays of various sizes. Naturally, it was impossible to check them one by one. When the people from the array faction helped them build it, they connected more than 10,000 array formations together through the Great Mountain Protection Array. It was clear which array formation was not functioning properly. This also saved them the trouble of checking one by one. The 7 divine peaks were named according to the Big Dipper array. They were Dubhe, Merak, Phecta, Megrez, Alioth, Mizar, and Yaoguang. Among them, the 4th divine peak, Megrez Peak, was the control hub of the entire Stargate's array. This was the core of the array. Once there was any mistake, the 7 divine peaks of the Stargate would be destroyed. Therefore, this place was heavily guarded all year round. Even a fly could not fly in. Master Lu, under the guidance of a Stargate disciple, arrived at Megrez Peak. As soon as they landed, dozens of divine senses that were not inferior to the doppelganger stage swept over them. Among them, there were even a few probes from the body fusion stage. These probes were completely undisguised. It was as if they were deliberately intimidating them, warning outsiders not to have crooked thoughts. Mu Yu felt as if he was exposed in front of hundreds of cultivators who were much more powerful than him. He could not muster up any thoughts of resistance. Megrez Peak security was really famous. There wasn't even the slightest chance to play any tricks. Master Lu, I trust you have been well since we last met. A voice sounded. The person in charge of receiving Master Lu was a middle-aged man named Tian Jingxin. His cultivation was also at the Severed Soul stage. He was the guard captain who was specifically responsible for guarding Megrez Peak. He usually dealt with Master Lu and was most familiar with the business dealings between the Array faction and the Stargate. Fellow Taoist Zheng Xin. Master Lu replied politely. Tian Jingxin's gaze swept over the several Zhong Tian disciples, and when he saw Mu Yu, he was slightly taken aback. Master Lu, I had always thought that the disciples of the Array faction were all very talented, but why does this Zhong Tian disciple's age and cultivation not match? In the past, even if the Zhong Tian disciples brought by Master Lu were at the Foundation establishment stage, they were still very young. However, Mu Yu looked to be almost 20 years old, and it was very rare to see such a young disciple with such a low cultivation. Master Lu smiled and said, This person is my guardian boy, not a culmination heaven disciple. I've embarrassed myself in front of fellow Taoists just hard. I see. I was wondering when the Array faction would accept people with low aptitude. Tian Jingxin smiled faintly. Not knowing if it was intentional or not, Tian Jingxin's words made Master Lu feel somewhat awkward. He smiled and changed the topic. In the past few months, where have you encountered problems with your array formations? I'll take a look and see if there are any problems with them that need to be improved. Master Lu asked. According to the disciples' reports, the two spirit gathering arrays on Yuhing Peak seem to have weakened a lot, and there are also problems with the beast taming array on Mazang Peak that is used to raise spirit beasts. In addition, there are also problems with the array formations in the disciples' residences. Tian Jingxin listed out 11 problems with the array formations. Only 11, which wasn't a lot, but it was also reasonable. Array formations needed to be maintained regularly, and sometimes human disturbances would disrupt the normal operation of the array formation. However, generally, large arrays wouldn't be disturbed by the spiritual energy of cultivators. Only small arrays were prone to problems. When the array faction's people entered the control hub of the array formation, their movements were being watched. If the array faction's people did anything bad, they would come out and stop them. The array faction's people naturally wouldn't have any other ideas. They had a business relationship with Stargate, except for Muyu. However, Muyu also knew that the chances of him playing tricks weren't high. With his current out-of-body stage cultivation, it would be too difficult for him to make waves in Stargate no matter how big it was. Moreover, if he went overboard, it was very likely that he would implicate the array faction's people. The array faction's people didn't have any enmity with Muyu, and Muyu didn't want to drag him down with him, so he could only endure. Master Lu brought the Zhongtian disciples into a magnificent palace. There were many people guarding the palace, and inside was the core of the array that controlled the more than 10,000 large and small arrays of Stargate. Mysterious array patterns covered the entire palace, and the ground was covered with complex spiritual energy carvings that intertwined with each other. Occasionally, a little bit of starlight would flow through the carvings, causing the entire array to light up for a moment before returning to normal. Master Lu stepped into the array formation and injected spiritual energy into the array formation. Then, the spiritual energy turned into a red light and flowed through the entire array formation. The red light quickly flowed through every part of the array formation. Then, it suddenly flashed, and the red light stopped flowing in one place. Then, the rest of the red light continued to flow. After about an hour, the spiritual energy injected by Master Lu gradually disappeared, and more than 50 red dots appeared in the array formation. This caused Master Lu's expression to change slightly. This was the array formation's detection method. The red spiritual energy injected by Master Lu could detect where the problem was with the more than 10,000 large and small arrays of the entire sect. If there was a red dot, it meant that there was a problem with an array formation. Now that there were 52 red dots, it meant that 52 arrays had problems. This was much more than the 11 array formations that Tian Jingxin said had problems. He asked in a serious voice, "Fellow Taoist Zheng Xian, has the Stargate's array formation been touched by someone? Why is there so much damage?" However, Tian Jingxin didn't seem to be in a hurry. He seemed to have known that Master Lu would ask this question. He said, "Master Lu, you must be joking. Currently, people from the Talisman Grandmaster are guests at my sect. We listened to their suggestion and prepare to replace some array formations with talisman techniques. They demonstrated the power of talisman techniques to us, and they are indeed stronger than the old array formations." What? People from the Talisman Grandmaster? Master Lu was furious. People from the Talisman Grandmaster actually came to the Stargate and even persuaded the Stargate to use their talisman techniques? That's right, they are talisman masters from the Talisman Grandmaster. Speaking of which, I almost forgot one thing. After testing and comparing, we found that the talisman techniques set up by the Talisman Grandmaster are indeed much more advanced than the array formations set up by your array Grandmaster. For example, in terms of spirit gathering array, the talisman techniques set up by the Talisman Grandmaster are twice as powerful as your array Grandmaster, but the spirit stones required are 1/3 less. In consideration of the cost, our Stargate accepted the Talisman Grandmaster's suggestion and decided to use the talisman techniques of the Talisman Grandmaster to replace your array formations. Tian Jingxin said unhurriedly. Master Lu was furious. Not only did the Talisman Grandmaster snatch away their cooperation with a million-spirit gathering firm, they even extended their hands to another big customer of the Array Grandmaster. How could he tolerate this? However, have you considered that the core of the Migres Peaks array formation is implemented according to our Array Grandmaster? If we rashly change it, how can the people from the Talisman Grandmaster solve any problems in the future? Master Lu suppressed the anger in his heart. It was Stargate's business who they chose as their business partner, and Master Lu couldn't interfere. He could only try his best to salvage the situation and see if he could make the Stargate change their mind. Master Lu, you don't have to worry about this. If you don't believe me, you can look at the flickering red light just now. I think that should be referring to Alioth Peak's array formation, right? At this moment, the people from the Talisman Grandmaster are using talisman techniques to modify your array formation on Alioth Peak. The Talisman Grandmaster is from the same sect as your Array Grandmaster, so they have a way to solve this problem. Tian Jingxin pointed at a red dot in the array formation. That red dot flickered and gradually vanished. The disappearance of the red dot meant that the problem with the array formation had been fixed. This is too much. You can't just cut off your cooperation with us for no reason. The array formation of the Stargate has always been maintained by our Array Grandmaster, so we know the function of the entire array formation better than them. Aren't you afraid that the entire array formation of the Stargate will be destroyed by changing it so rashly? Master Lu spoke angrily. Tian Jingxin shook his head and said, "The people from the Talisman Grandmaster gave us a guarantee, so there's no need for you to worry. We have to pay your Array Grandmaster 10 million spirit stones every year. Besides the 2 million spirit stones required for the Levitation Array Grandmaster, all the other large and small arrays required 8 million spirit stones to maintain. That's already a huge expense. On the other hand, the Talisman Grandmaster only requires 6 million spirit stones to replace the 8 million spirit stones required by your Array Grandmaster. I presume all of you know who to choose, right? For the sake of seizing the Array Grandmaster's business, the Talisman Grandmaster had offered a lower price than the Array Grandmaster, and he'd actually succeeded in convincing the members of the Stargate to change the array formation that was established using talisman techniques. Such arrogant actions had touched upon Master Lu's bottom line. Master Lu was furious to the extreme. A lower price doesn't necessarily mean a lower price than ours. Since the members of the Talisman Grandmaster are here as well, then can you let me meet them so that I can have a confrontation with them? There's no need to wait for the young master to speak. If all of you have any objections, then you can go look for him on Alioth Peak. However, because the modification of the Levitation Array Grandmaster's array formation is too huge, so we'll still choose to cooperate with your Array Grandmaster. After all of you ensure that there are no problems with the Levitation Array Grandmaster, you can go ask the members of the Talisman Grandmaster about it. We'll only choose the best and most affordable option. If the Array Grandmaster can prove that it's better than the Talisman Grandmaster, then we'll naturally continue to cooperate, Tian Jingxin said. As members of the Stargate, they weren't afraid of offending the Array Grandmaster. After all, the Array Talisman Grandmaster's strength had been greatly reduced since the separation of the Array Talisman Grandmaster. Moreover, this was a business competition between the Array Talisman Grandmaster. As a client, the Stargate would only cooperate with the most affordable party. Master Lu calmed down and snorted coldly before heading toward the Levitation Array Grandmaster. The Levitation Array Grandmaster was the core that allowed the 7 enormous divine mountains of the Stargate to rise into the sky. It was also the most important array formation among all the array formations. A large portion of the annual maintenance costs actually came from the most complicated Levitation Array Grandmaster, which took up nearly 2 million spirit stones. The remaining 8 million came from the 10,000 array formations of various sizes. Now that the Talisman Grandmaster had snatched away this 8 million spirit stones business for 6 million spirit stones, the Stargate was naturally delighted to see this. The Levitation Array Grandmaster was the one who had set up the Heavenly Array Grandmaster, so the Talisman Grandmaster couldn't replicate it. Therefore, at least the Stargate Grandmaster was able to secure 2 million spirit stones in their business. No matter how arrogant the Talisman Grandmaster was, they didn't have a Grandmaster like the Heavenly Array Grandmaster. Therefore, this was the only source of confidence the Array Grandmaster had. However, Master Lu was still very upset. Originally, he could get 10 million spirit stones from the Stargate Grandmaster every year, but now it had suddenly become 2 million spirit stones. He really couldn't take this lying down. Master Lu inspected the Levitation Array Grandmaster and didn't find any major problems. Mu Yu, on the other hand, went through the entire Levitation Array Grandmaster in his mind and memorized it. Although he couldn't understand such a profound array formation, the more he understood about the Stargate, the more chances he would have for revenge in the future. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.